Shiver me
Congrats,
timbers!
Adams.
Wow! Yay!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Iron Seas on Tuesdays at 6:30 PST. In other words, the Lord's time. Today, we will be discussing the movie that won the poll on Twitter, Master and Commander. And we are joined by a very special guest, a Mr. Jake Cobbery Calta. Welcome to the show, land. Woo!
Jake,
How you doing, guys? Yeah, Jake, you're first up. How you doing, man?
I'm doing
The guest
pretty
first?
goddamn well.
Yeah,
Nice.
he's the guest. It's like the lady or the guy with no beard.
I agree.
There we go.
Like, oh yeah, no, I forgot. I have like watch the promo as we fly through the air. Jesus Christ.
Justin, you had it all set up already.
Oh, we got a fanboy on the show, huh?
I
Apparently
actually
we
do
do, and
slacking, but we're working on
The
it.
only
Just like
thing
you
we're
could.
missing. Yeah, and the only thing we're missing there is I'm also one of the co-editors of Go West Frontier Adventures, a new Western anthology pulp magazine. So
Yeah.
yes, for those unaware, I am the current layout editor and handyman for Anvil Iron Age magazine. I also am the creator of 365 Infantry, a pulp sci-fi madhouse, as I like to call it, set in a wild woven future full of all things awesome in life. Hot rods, motorcycles, heavy metal, all that fun stuff. And I'm also a filmmaker, composer, writer of things not involving wolves, and particularly in the case of filmmaking, a massive, massive movie buff. You can see some of the...
Frankly massive. Enormously massive.
Some say buff, some say nerd.
Huge.
Huge.
You went to school for film a little bit, right? Something like that.
Yes, I did. I actually went to a film studies program, went into undergrad. Fall semester 2019, not an Agatha Christie mystery, how 2020 went.
Pretty much.
And yeah,
Dude, what a good time to go to school, right?
oh my God, it is literally the best time to. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. All I needed was the resources. And then I didn't have the resources, and all I got was
See,
depression.
It wasn't all bad. You went to school, I got divorced. It wasn't a bad period of time. It was just right.
You went to school, you losers?
I never went to
Schools for
school.
dumb people.
That's I'll have you know, I decided not to go to college at 10 years old, and I stuck to that.
To be fair, I was literally being paid to go there. I'm like one of the 5 Zoomers left on planet Earth without student loan debt.
Hey, good for you.
Nice.
That's
Well
pretty
done.
sick, dude.
I
My
did-
aunt, who is in her mid-50s, is still paying hers off.
Oh,
Oof.
God.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Oof.
actually, I'll tell you even one better story. It's technically, even though my lead artist on 365 Infantry is based out of the Philippines, Kevin John Jacob, wonderful guy who's done covers for Kursova's Mighty Sons of Hercules, Mage Leaders, and Hell followed with him. Fun fact.
Oh, dude!
I-
As soon as I saw you on a video, I think it was you were on someone's show recently. What? news show was it?
Ironcast on.
Oh, that's
Oh, John A. Douglas'
yeah.
Oh,
That's where I saw you.
Yep.
And I was like,
Yeah, no.
he really has that razor fist vibe going on. So I thought of that meme the moment I saw you. I'm like, all right, here we go. Based.
and his
Oh.
and his stuff and particularly not just his championing of like the Shadow and Solomon Kane was big influence on me, but also
Oh,
the Metal
Solomon
Mythos
Kane's
series
great.
got me.
Oh,
and
dude,
the Metal
those are
Mythos
so
series
good.
got
Yeah.
me really hooked on a lot of classic bands. In fact, it was actually the Motorhead Mythos that made me realize Motorhead was my favorite band of all time. Like literally de-seated Pink Floyd after like years.
I don't get me wrong. I like most of his recommendations. It was the Motorhead mythos that made me realize I'm not really a big Motorhead fan.
How dare you?
It's
Fire
all
this
No,
man.
the video is great. The band is good. It's just I don't know, man.
No,
I haven't found that one song that just draws me in yet.
It's
Haven't
one
found it,
it's
man.
one of those it's one of those things where it's like it's to each his own. And I think also with Motorhead, it very much is how heavy, how much of Lemmy's voice at that particular stage can you handle? Because if you go back and listen to his stuff like Sam Gopal or Hawkwind, he actually has a really clean voice. But then he
Yeah.
busted his ass on Speed and Jack Daniels, and then the rest is history. Exactly.
Like every metalhead, huh?
But just to dovetail back to college real quick, even though my lead artist is based out of the Philippines, I can say 365 Infantry is an all-American production because most of pre-production was funded with American Rescue Plan money. I was literally getting thrown thousands of dollars for existing in the college system, and I'm like, fuck it, might as well use it.
You know what he needs? What? Lots of cash. Cold. Hard.
Literally.
Untrackable. Untraceable. Anyway.
Untraceable.
Well, I say just say what's up to the chat now and forget about us co-hosts. I don't know about you guys, but I think we're kind of pretty boring.
All right, we
You
got
guys
Whiskey,
agree?
Guns, America, Crusader, Saracen. Oh, hey, cool. Bill Armstrong.
American. Nice.
All of you guys, for some reason. James Hurley, Tim McKay, Herman P. The Lore Forge, The Hedge Hunter.
HBH.
James, a whole bunch of people. Let's see. Jersey, Brian McCoppin. No, sadly, Jersey's no longer with us. He's moved on to sleep, not dead. Just
The sleep world.
Just
All
the
right, but
person,
yeah.
though. We
Yeah.
still haven't hacked the state off, have we?
Yeah. And if you're listening, please hit the like button, guys. Come on.
And King Bob, the honorable sea wife.
Yes.
Jake, I'll fill you in.
Very
real quick,
honorable.
just so you're not completely lost. They're all married. All their wives are degenerates in our chat most of the time, except for Justin's lovely wife. And then, like I mentioned one day, I don't have a sea wife. We started making jokes about setting me up with a Filipina chick. Anyway, moving on. And Bob's like, I'll be his sea wife, honorary. I'm like, okay, sure. And
I
they
didn't
never
know
let
that's
me
how that
forget.
happened. I'm
Yeah,
here, and that's news to me.
Yeah. Hey
Unless
guys,
I'm
and subscribe today, and you can become one of the seamen, the many that we have
Yep.
today.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can,
We're hoping this whole chat is filled with semen before the end
Filled.
of the night.
The whole thing.
you can
yeah.
either be a seaman or a
Overflowing
sea
with
wife.
semen.
It's going to be
Couch
2
is
hours.
like,
of this,
I
isn't it?
regret this already.
Absolutely. Every show I'm on is both the gayest and most retardedest.
Hey.
So
It's more like an hour and 50. Let's be honest here. We get 10 minutes of the
Fair
guest being a voice of sanity.
But yeah,
All
real
right.
quick, let's rattle through it real quick. AC, what have you been up to this week, man?
Well, I'm resurrecting my band, getting all that together. I still have all the
Yeah.
old subs and videos. I have one old video that's approaching 30,000 views.
Damn.
Dude,
a
that's
different channel
sick.
though. That's the thing.
That's 1,129.
Yeah, there's a few, but I decided to just re-centralize everything on the Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter pages and kind of revive it with the hopes of kind of using it as a platform for indies.
And what was the
and-
name of that band, just for everyone in the chat?
Empty My Lungs
a
at
great
Empty My
name,
Lungs. Everywhere you look, X, Facebook, YouTube, Empty My Lungs. We just redid all the thumbnails. I made a poster for each song. So yeah, that'll be pretty active. Tomorrow I got a song called Talk Dirty releasing. I'll be putting that on Royce's
That's right.
Wednesday thread.
Nice.
So you'll see my band chime in there. I think we're just like a few people away from 1,000 followers on X and a few people away from 400 followers or subscribers
Oh, yeah.
on YouTube. So you
You
can
want me
be the difference. Just
you want me to give people a little bit of a taste?
sure. Yeah, do it.
All right.
Yes, sir.
I've heard it before, but it still slaps so hard. It's so good.
That one I got pretty savage with.
Like a
It's
wet fish to the face.
If you want to hear the full song, tune into my live show at 11 a.m. Eastern
Yep.
tomorrow.
that's also Battsauce's
Oh yeah,
new one.
the sauce cave, right?
The sauce cave.
Sauce cave.
The sauce cave.
But aside from that, we just locked in a second cover for my comic campaign.
Noise.
Yes.
So
Spicy.
yeah, that is progressing along. We're I think we're like $200 away from the first goal, and the second goal would be 50 backers. So that once we reach the first goal, we'll be about halfway to the second. So
Sweet.
so check that out. fundmycomic.com/ASOS. Between the band and that's it. You'll see it both tomorrow on Wednesday.
Fantastic, man. Justine. How is your week going?
It's going fine. It's very busy, very busy times. But chipping away at things, making progress. That's the It's the whole mantra: the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and
I'd
it ends
forget.
1,000 miles away, probably in a desert or something.
That is how the quote goes, actually. Yeah, that whole thing.
Classic Norm joke, one of my favorites. But yeah, we're chipping away. We're getting at it. There's things coming around the bend here. I think me and Chill could have a new song coming out here. The dual
Yes,
single
sir.
in a handful of days.
Yeah,
I'm still trying to put together.
that.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's a little bit different. It sounds like me, but a little bit different. And Chill Kid delivers the way he always does. I'm trying to come up with a cool little fun promo thing for it, and I'm working. I'm trying to make it happen. But there might be a fun giveaway or something involved. Maybe we'll see.
Guys, keep an eye out. There might be something in the future.
Ooh.
Yeah. Mark your
Tempting.
calendars with a question
Also,
mark.
for anyone wondering, every time Justin says, "I don't know if I like it," we kind of tried something different. It's one of the best things he's ever done.
Oh,
So-
stop it! Get out of here. No, I like it, but it is a little bit different.
Nice.
Anyways,
That-
so,
And Sauce Boy.
Sauce boy. Well, I've really been focusing
saucy
on
porpoise.
meditating this past week. Really, that's pretty much it.
Just a little
just
porpoise
staying
man in a
calm.
big porpoise world.
That's what you call it. meditating.
Follow me on Twitter, Battsauce, because there is some entertaining stuff going on. People just come out and say some wild shit, and I just slap them back with some wilder shit. It's if you're
You
into
guys
that
ever
entertainment-
see like two retarded kids at the playground fighting each other? It's kind of like that, but on the internet.
Absolutely. Oh my
The
god.
also the entirety of
never
the
seen-
internet. Anyway,
Yeah. It's quite retarded.
King-
But I mean, out of it, I've been anointed the Riptardist, so that's a mantle I'm now holding very proudly. So,
Do you want
going
a
forward,
medal for that?
Absolutely, I did. Yeah, I think it's gold, right? No. All right. So besides that, guys, I have a book. It's linked on my Twitter. Dawn Edge. It's really good. It's kind of the best book
nice.
ever. No big deal. And then besides that, I do my weekly Batcave show. It's just a little bit spicier than this one. Especially tomorrow's gonna be spicy. It's gonna be spicy. 11 a.m. Eastern.
Oh, that's why you always have the milk for the spice.
For the spice. Yeah.
No,
It's
I
all
get
about
it.
the
Yeah,
spice.
Now I get it.
I
It's always
just
about-
assumed it was dolphin milk, but moving on.
Yeah.
Anyway, this week the movie that won the poll was Master and Commander, beating out the proper choice, which was Into the Blue, Sinbad, and then Pirates of the Caribbean once again. So, all of us have seen it. What did did any of you guys not seen it before this time?
I had not seen it before
I
this
hadn't
time.
either.
Oh wait, guys, 1 second. Let me jump in my short bus real quick.
Oh, okay.
Oh, what you got in here? You fighting around?
Oh, okay. Sorry, couldn't make it to lieutenant in 10 years. Okay, sorry.
He looks like the reason they invented short buses, actually.
It's Lieutenant Cannonball. He's an important character.
Sayonara.
You've always been nice to me. Goodbye. I hear there's toothpaste at the bottom of the ocean.
I didn't mean to.
Get in the short bus, governor.
No
we
brain
can get
surgery
into
guy?
his character a little bit more, but
No brain surgery character? Come on.
no brain
He spoke
surgery.
fast. He spoke.
I
has
love
a
when they're all
name.
just
Yeah, but
watching
he
like,
has a name.
oh,
He tapped into the forces of nature and was able to tell everyone, like, yo, this dude is a bad omen. Yo, Seaman,
Based.
talk about paranoia,
we're all
or
seamen, but
superstitious,
that
I
guy's
should
gay.
say.
It was all Romans back then.
No, that's probably like one of my favorite parts of the movie. I'll talk about it later. Just like what happens after. It's such a bold move of the movie.
I was really surprised by this movie. Mostly that I had never seen it before. Like, when did this come
it's
out?
great.
Like 2002,
Three.
2001?
2003. And I shit you not, and I don't know why. And I think it's just because they were both, major, big, large scale period pieces. But I always kept getting this mixed up with The New World. And I don't know why.
Oh.
Oh,
'Cause on one-
I've never seen that, but
can
I'm
see
aware of the poster.
Yeah,
for
because
it.
it's funny too, because it's like it's
Wait, 2003? Were you even born yet? Fuck.
2001. I was 2.
But you can watch movies.
No,
in the
I'll
future,
forgive you
like,
making that
still there.
mistake in 2003. It's all right. Happens.
Right.
Plus, it was being overshadowed a little bit by the Lord of the Rings movies and the Harry Potter movies.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
no. Also, we had the pirate movies were coming
Yeah.
out at that time too.
Remember when we had too many good movies to watch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this movie got overshadowed.
I have to pick out of these 5 incredible films.
Yeah.
This movie was a
Man.
masterpiece. And Justin, you should, before we go farther, you should do your little summary
Yes.
thing.
Please do, Justin.
Will do. This did come out during, was it around Return of the King?
Around that time, yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
which was
so,
actually
yeah.
playing in my house earlier. All right, the rundown for Master and Commander, as we established from the year 2000 and not 3, but 2003, 2 syllables there. So during the Napoleonic
Sorry.
Wars, a brash British captain pushes his ship and crew to their limits in pursuit of a formidable French war vessel around South America. Directed by Peter Weir, starring Russell Crowe, Paul
Yes, he did.
Bettany, and Billy Boyd. This movie got a 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb. It got an 81 on Metacritic and has a 4.8 out of 5 on Amazon.
Are you trying to sound like?
I don't know what that accent was.
No,
I
you sound like
like
from the.
Retard alert! Retard alert, class!
It was half the overexcited tourist and half just like, I don't know, lean into it. It'll
And
be
that-
more interesting.
that-
than
that-
just
You
being
sound
like,
like Channing Tatum in the new Deadpool versus
And
Wolverine.
that is Hoosier ass enunciation of Peter Weir's name. Got Peter Weir here, mate.
Peter Weir. Oh, geez. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know it's
yeah.
Tom.
Oh, geez.
Jeez,
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Anyway, they were having a little bit of a fight, and I said we should get along. Well, all right, sorry.
Is it soda bread or pop bread? Depending on
What
Oh,
are you talking about?
It's pop.
Pop bread.
Let's talk about Master and
There you go.
Commander,
AC
okay?
AC knows.
Yeah,
Yes.
proper time
Over here.
English.
This movie that we saw.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, the weirdest thing is I had never seen it. I wonder if there were just too many good films coming out at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is pretty
I-
crazy.
I have no idea how this one slipped my radar too, because although I've never been like crazy about maritime adventure films, like I've gotten I've been on a bit of a kick lately, like wanting to go back and like watch old Errol Flynn like swashbucklers. Funny you mentioned
Captain
Horatio
Blood.
Hornblower. Oh my God, there's
That's a
fucking
great
film
book.
right there.
Good, really good book too, by the way.
Yeah, and the funny you mentioned Horatio Hornblower, because I was also thinking about the because I know there was the A&E miniseries, but there was also the 50s film with Gregory Peck, and that and a double bill of his version of Moby Dick would be fucking insane to watch. Especially because Gregory Peck going over the top in Moby Dick is just so amazing.
Was that
Yeah.
Josh Peck's dad?
Josh Peck?
I don't know.
It's
From-
Drake and
from Drake and
never
Josh?
mind.
Oh my God, no.
I tried to get scouted or rage quit.
Okay, all right, bye-bye, fired.
Absolute stamina I'm gonna have for this show, aren't I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's like I haven't been like crazy about like maritime adventure films, but I was thinking about stuff like the old Errol Flynn swashbucklers, stuff like Mutiny
Endurance,
on the Bounty,
maybe?
which Mutiny on the Bounty, which is a bit of a relevant one considering some
like
of the
that one.
strain the crew of the HMS Surprise goes under. But what I was really shocked by was how surprisingly warm, personable, and kind of there's so much
Character-driven.
personality in this film.
Is that because of the lack of women in the movie, Jake? Is that no, I'm just kidding.
I think he hates guys. I think Jake's saying he hates women.
There's, I
women
think,
on the
literally
show.
3 women, and they occurred like all of 2 seconds in the movie. The rest is just all
I'll be
men.
frank. I forgot there were. Oh no, wait, no, the island wit chicks.
Yeah, the
I'm like-
islands like 3 women.
I was looking at him like, you're not Hawaiian, but you were
Because I think
so
it was
close.
Brazil. I think it was off the coast of Brazil. They
Yeah.
had stopped. They'd stopped off at. No, it's not that. What really surprised me.
He still
is
hasn't
that-
said he likes women, so moving on.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. That's the man with semen as his byline. Jesus.
The
hey, the final semen.
I'm the
Last
one that made it,
semen on
motherfucker.
Anyways, go on. You were saying something about warm, hot men.
And also hating women. No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. It's that kind of
God
Guys
night.
are
damn
worse
it.
than fucking Royce.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, for
that's-
sure we are.
Anyway, now one, Russell Crowe is so much fun to watch in this. He is really just nat 20 on fucking charisma throughout this entire
Yeah.
film.
He was on a roll through like the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, I mean, freaking Gladiator, a few other things.
And
Fighting around the world.
I have to make a point here to just shout out every scene. As soon as they pull out a musical instrument, they're actually playing those instruments. I know for a fact, because Russell Crowe's a band dude now. He gave up movies to play music.
Really? I was actually wondering that.
Well,
yeah, Y-Files.
Well, yeah,
Shout
actually,
out to
that and
Y-Files.
if I'm not mistaken, one of the composers had actually taught him proper violin technique, and also taught his naturalist friend there how to play the cello correctly. So that's actual genuine positions, that's proper form, and they're basically playing the actual piece of the underscore.
And when you get a scene,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, when you get a scene like that, it's like, I mean, you got so much hectic things that are happening around them, and especially like right before that, you got people dying, and then they go into their little cabin, they're just like playing some tunes, and it's just like you're instantly calm, you're relaxed, but it's like such a interesting vibe, I guess.
What is that term? I know Couts is gonna know this. Whenever there's music in the movie that isn't the sound or the score or whatever that only the audience can hear, but the characters can hear it as well. What's that term?
I don't remember.
I think, well, I know there's diegetic sound, which is music that's happening in the world. I think that's so diegetic, and then non-diegetic is all the underscore that's happening, basically absent the action of the film. That's stuff like when they're when the guy comes crashing down off the mast that breaks, and they start playing that Ralph Vaughan Williams piece, and that is one of my favorite things about this film. The use of classical music is really, really effective. And that particular piece, Fantasia on a Theme by Thomas Tallis, is one of my favorites. And hearing it not only come up, but swelling and driving the desperation of the scene and the tragedy of it is just...
Well, yeah, let's talk about that scene. Yeah.
Expert work.
That scene is like gut-wrenching, horrible.
Yeah.
To watch like this guy who's friends, and they showed you the relationship that they built. You see the connection between the two guys, and he literally has to kill him essentially in order for the rest of the people to live. And as he's going through the worst time of his life, you got the crew that starts cheering because the boat straightens out because the guy died. And it's like this.
They don't really know
dread.
That.
Yeah, no, they don't. But it's like this dread that you, as the viewer, it's just like crazy.
And the special thing that I like about this, and I consider a testament to Weir's direction and also the way everyone's playing the roles, is that it's clear that not a single man wants to do that, but they know they have to. Not even Crow. Not even the captain wants to do that, and yet he has to come out with the machete and do the deed anyway. And it's incredible use of suspense, wonderful use of practical sets, because they use an actual full.
It's a real boat. How many movies have come out in like the last 10 years with fake fucking boats?
All of them.
Not
so beautiful.
I don't know. Actually, I have no idea.
Not even just that. But this film came out in that.
Swing.
That was to the boat.
Surprise!
Sorry, I can't tell sometimes with all you guys.
Is that an or you just happy to see me?
Anyway, this film actually came out in a very unique and rare time where people were able to consistently blend CG elements, practical model effects, and actual full-scale practical sets. Because if I'm not mistaken, the set for the HMS Surprise was built on the same water tank that they shot Titanic in '97.
Yeah.
The CGI was done by Industrial Light and Magic, George Lucas's company. That's Star Wars, Star Trek, 2 through 6.
Have you guys heard of any of those things? I
know. You're very obscure little independent films.
Very obscure indie titles.
But and funny that you had mentioned Return of the King, but the actual miniatures for the ships were Mutiny Bill's character. Yeah, that just about sounds right. For
It enforces character is what it does. No.
Right. No, but the actual miniatures for the boats were made by Weta Workshop, who had worked on the Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings and everything else since the Planet of the Apes movies as well. Very, very good.
Right. But yeah, no, so you have this, so you have this
What were you
perfect-
laughing at? You.
Some this is past stuff for us. You
Gotcha.
You got to rewatch our old episodes if you want to get in on the joke. I highly suggest that.
Yeah,
Dawn
if
of
you
the
can-
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
is
if
a
you can
great
find
movie.
half the damn catalog, you guys scattering it to the four winds like a chaos.
We were just tossing. We were tossing it like the village whore around our three
Basically,
channels,
Yeah.
and now we're all in one place. No,
It was
if I
pretty
had-
cool to. It was
Pretty
pretty cool
much.
to have a designated captain. It like was on point with the themes, and it
could-
actually starting
We
off
can bring
that
that
way.
back.
Yeah, starting off that way, kind of like
Shush.
it scattered us across all of our like friends. So like it kind of made everybody aware that we existed. Then
We were spreading
centralized.
semen amongst all of our friends.
so well, far and wide.
This metaphor will never break down.
Never.
All right.
Had leaning hands going. Jesus.
I will say the opening like 20 minutes of this movie, there's not a lot of movies that I watch where I feel like, oh man, in theaters, this would be a really different experience than watching it on your home theater. Because everybody's got sound bars that sound good. You got your 50-inch TV or whatever. And it's close enough to a theater experience. But man, the first like 20 minutes, holy
Would be intense.
harrowing.
Yeah.
There was no score. It's just the sound on whatever's happening. And the sound design was insane. You feel like you're on that ship, and even when there's breaks in the cannon fire where you hear like birds again, I'm like, that's how that would go. Like, this is nuts.
I'll say this: I am so glad I watched this film with my headphones on, because you could, even though obviously it's just stereo, there's no 5.1 surround sound. The way it's mixed, you can hear what's happening.
5.1 surround sound.
Exactly.
I think it actually either
VHS.
won or was nominated for that particular scene and the sound design in it. And they're looking at afterwards, it's like well earned because it was nuts, man. It was
Because
awesome.
the
crazy.
sub bass on some of those scenes is just it kicks you
insane.
right in the fucking chest.
And I'll say this as someone
Yeah,
who's
just
read,
nice
I've
to
read
know.
a lot of journals and/or autobiographies of old maritime sailors and things of that nature. They nail a lot of the aspects of day-to-day sailor life in this really, really well. It's obviously quite different from like a whaling vessel, but in many ways, but all the maritime stuff is very, very similar.
This is why I wanted to have adaptation as one of the subjects again, because this was adapted from a book written by, I'm pretty sure, a pretty avid sailor or Navy man.
Navy man.
That was his thing. He was imbuing the whole story with all these gritty details that were true. And what you're talking about right now, Kahuna, is a very powerful example of somebody who adapts an IP that they've been trusted with correctly and respectfully. Okay, there's no vandalism.
Novel idea.
Right.
Yeah. So let's
Imagine
talk about
caring about the source material.
You're right. Yeah.
And while I'm at it, I will say one criticism I can actually give it is pulling its punches with the brutality. Like, for as brutal as it was,
Oh, really?
it's also not brutal enough.
They
Right?
could have filmed it in a more brutal way. 100%.
There's like,
Yeah.
okay, the scene I'll just directly point to is when the kid gets his arm amputated. It's like,
Yeah, it's
thank you for pulling the punches, but we all know how different that scene would go down in real life. That kid would be screaming, and
They don't. But they don't need to necessarily show it.
Justin,
And
that
they
is
put-
wrong. I'm sorry.
No. They put the wooden block in his mouth, and they like
I
you
agree.
tie it down so you can't really, it's muffled.
So you don't
here's
break your
my
teeth.
thing,
That's
actually.
why.
Here's my thing. I actually feel like I'm okay with it not, leaning into the genuine gore, because here's the thing. That scene alone, because you understand the concept, what's happening, and that incredible sound design of him chopping down on the bit, the wincing, the cranking of the
Just
device.
a little kid too. A little kid. Like
Oh yeah, the kid actors
Yeah.
were incredible in this film. They did
Yes,
such a good
This
job.
is
has the most baller scene ever later in the movie when they're in the full out fight and he just jumps on the boat, missing an arm, just bow,
Oh, dude, that was wild.
fucking taking charge. A freaking 12-year-old like commanding men, being like, "Get the cannon down right now."
a hero.
Yeah, a hero. Yeah.
Heroism, yeah.
Yeah,
Something. This guy was missing.
yeah, that guy
Right.
clearly.
He was
spent all his
missing a
time
lot of
playing
things.
video games.
Kahuna's.
I will say that about that particular scene, that the character's I know we're all deep into spoilers, so I'm just gonna say
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Fuck.
We're knuckle
yeah,
deep,
guys,
razor knuckle deep.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Put that.
I will say that character's the suicide with the character, grabbing the cannonball and jumping down is single-handedly one of the most hauntingly done scenes I've seen in a recent memory. And that's the other reason why I'm okay with it pulling punches on like gore and stuff, because Peter Weir has such a great mastery of tone and how he can add these almost dreamlike flourishes in this surprisingly even tone. Because we were talking about how there's almost this whiplash between, being able to go from these very gut-wrenching scenes and this honest, and this very raw depiction of life on the ocean and on a naval vessel in the period, and then move into, the jovial dinner scenes or Crow and Paul Bettany playing a duo.
Paul Bettany. Why can I never remember that guy's name? He's been in 9 million movies.
I will say, God played some comedy gold that right after they read him his, final rites or whatever it was called, the wind picks up, and it's like they're like, okay, we're sad, but
we're gonna postpone.
We're gonna win now.
That's reality, bro.
I think also there is sort of that. I think the fact of the matter is because there is so much superstition regarding maritime travel, maritime life, boarding a renamed ship, stuff like that. I think there is some of that going in where it's like, ooh, that's cold, but that probably is how sometimes things go down.
Sailors are super superstitious, and like with the guys with the the amphibious assault vehicles, don't bring I think it's citrus. Can't bring citrus around. So like if you brought orange juice like around them, they would knock you out, and they'll tell you they're like anytime citrus is around, they sink.
Wow. Is that why?
You have.
I don't know what started the superstition, but
when things happen that aren't explained, you literally need to rationalize it because you're like risking your life by being in the middle of the fucking Pacific Ocean.
Like you guys remember when we went Jake, before your time. Everyone else, you remember when we were growing up and they're talking about how the giant squid doesn't exist? Yeah. And then like in 2012 they grabbed it. It's like,
oh yeah, I remember that video. I do. Yes, I do remember that. They're like, "Hey, we found it." Like the stories. I guess
the thing we said does not exist in the modern day. It's like, oh, maybe sailors did see giant squids back in the day, and that's what they're talking about.
And all of a sudden, the Mary Celeste starts floating on past.
But to talk about this guy some more, right?
Do we have to?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's a big part of this, right? So I mean, he's in his 30s, right? And as you saw, like. These guys don't start in their 20s. They start when they're children. And this is back in the day where if you're going to be an officer, that meant you paid for your rank. All officers were commissioned.
Pay for that. Yeah.
They paid for them. So, and especially to earn, you had to earn your respect with the crew at that point because they know you paid for it. You didn't necessarily earn it, at least at his rank, right? And then we saw the younger guy that ended up getting promoted to a lieutenant. Like he did some baller stuff. Like he risked himself going out there, getting shot by cannons on that little decoy shit that they made.
Wild.
Yeah, and so it's like he gained the respect, and then he ends up getting promoted to a lieutenant. This guy obviously hadn't done any of that, and I mean, at some point, it's just like. At what point are you getting like, hey, maybe I should stop doing this? I'm not built out for it. Because then you become a liability to the crew. And that's like what it was. And then you could see like when Russell Crowe's character was just like, you're in your late 20s. You need to like, why have you been getting passed up? And he's like, well, I'm actually in my 30s. And you could see his face. He's like, oh, you're a fuck up.
Yeah.
Herman,
like you might be a nice guy. But...
Herman, stop talking about Highlander. It's over.
It's over. It's never over.
We don't need to talk about a mediocre movie like that ever again.
So there's a guy out there in our world, the actor that plays this character, and he's reading the script and he reads about this character in the movie, and he's like, I'd be perfect for this role, guys. I gotta call that mess out. Like, what is that like?
No. What happened was he wanted the position of captain, like Russell Crowe's character. Like, hey, that doesn't work. I don't think you fit there, but there's this other role.
Can you
Well,
just
he
hold
wanted-
that-
he just
hold
wanted to
that
fit in.
cannonball. Just hold it. Just see what
He
happens.
wanted to
How's
fit
it
in.
feel?
He wanted to be one of the guys, and it's just like, nah, dude, you paid in. Like you when you're on the seas, you got to earn your salt.
Also,
Although I will,
go ahead.
no, and I will say this though. I think it is another, feather in the cap of Crow's character that he pulls him aside, but does so completely
Privately.
respectably.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. There's one of the most fascinating things about any wartime period piece, whether it's this or something like during World War One, Jean Renoir's Grand Illusion, is seeing decorum in not amid people of different ranks, or in the case of Grand Illusion, people on different sides of the conflict. Seeing the sheer level of respect and dignity being afforded everyone, where even if the guy, this guy who's a bit of a fuck up, is still being told to straighten him to get straightened out, but is being told in private. He's not being reprimanded publicly.
if that happened
As
publicly,
opposed-
he's done.
Yeah, he'd get bullied.
Done.
He'd get bullied.
Oh, it
yeah,
would have
no,
been
and that's why
it
it's-
would have been a death sentence. Yeah, no, they addressed this pretty. Like I like reading about. I read the autobiography of a guy who was he hopped on a whaling boat when he was 12 years old, and that's just what he did most of his life up until he decided he wanted to make money, and he started doing it. Anyway, he talked about it. He's like, yeah, if discipline wasn't maintained, like we'd have this, but also like everyone always thinks of sailing, and they don't realize like there is on a bigger ship like that there is a lot to do, but there's also time to kind of sit, and they would find ways to entertain themselves, like music and plays and like whatever. If anyone had a talent, that would be on display at some point. And I like that this movie kind of showed that that kind of thing.
It creates this sense of camaraderie, whereas people are so. I think there's a tendency when stuck with this sort of bottle setup. Because in television, being stuck on the same boat for this long is what we'd call a bottle episode. Yeah. But it's nice to see, in contrast to so many of the people put under a high pressure situation and everyone snaps and goes insane and lashes out at each other. Here we see a level of camaraderie, a level of dignity afforded to everyone, regardless of rank, regardless of title. And you see that in that first dinner scene where Captain Aubrey's talking about his few moments with Lord Nelson. That is one of the big naval figures of the period. And you see everyone just having this wonderful time bouncing off of each other, even with disagreements over how far are we going chasing this French naval vessel. How far are we pushing the crew and everything. There's still. You can still tell there's almost not a family, but definitely like a brotherhood aboard this ship.
It is like that, but it's a forced dependence. If you can't trust everyone to do their job,
well, it's called embracing the suck, right? That's what we say.
Right.
And
the Marines.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna bring my background into this, but it's like when I was in units where we had to do that dirty stuff, had to sleep in tents or deal with rain and whatever. That unit, there was always like a bigger sense of camaraderie in that unit. When I was in like a headquarters unit, like everybody fucking hated each other. There was no camaraderie, and it just like it sucked. And it's like, because you're not embracing the suck.
You start whining about each other. That's what I observed anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
But I love how, and when we have the Vision, his character on board, right? And he's kind of like there as the non-military person to contrast the military, and he's not just a regular person. He's also a genius. I guess genius is kind of fair to say, right? And he's like arguing with Russell Crowe's character a bunch, and like he's trying to use his sense, and it's like there's only things you can understand until you're like in the military, and you see his character start to understand that while the longer he's on the boat.
I have to say there's good examples of characters' heart in conflict with itself too when the Galapagos Islands are brought into play. because it was at a time when nobody knew what was like on there. The dude's like a biologist and a really good friend with the captain.
Yep.
And the
Opportunity
captain
of a lifetime right
Yeah.
there. And the captain's
pretty
like,
awesome,
nope.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
also the captain making promises and then like imagine making a really
Having
heartfelt
to
promise
break
and
them,
then
yeah.
you have to break that promise.
Although at that
Multiple
point
times.
he was supposed to only follow that Acheron boat, which the name Acheron means underworld or Hades. So what is he really chasing there? And he was only supposed to follow it to Brazil, and at that point he'd gone down around the Horn of South America and up the other side to the Galapagos.
Well,
He's
You
like, "We gotta
could
keep going."
say
It's like, holy
the
shit.
far side of the world.
Well, I'll tell you,
Good.
right? Like, especially back then, you can't really communicate
Now we're thinking
back over to headquarters, right? So he made a decision on his own, being like, and seeing this ship and seeing how advanced it was, like he didn't go back to France and see what they want to say about it. He
Yeah.
knew. He's like, this boat is going to be a danger. We have to do something about it, and that's why he went rogue. Essentially, I mean, he went rogue, but like he's going to go back and they're like, thank God you did that. That was good. Essentially. But yeah, let's talk about the antagonist, right? The super advanced boat, right?
And also nature.
Yeah.
As
Well,
one of our
and
top-
any sailing story has to have the nature as the antagonist, which is ironic because it's one of our subjects that we brought up to talk about this week, not just in regards to this movie.
Well, what was awesome about
And
nature
I-
was it wasn't just the nature of the ocean and being on the boat, but also the nature of the man. And the ending of this movie drove me crazy because I always want a happy ending. But it was well written in the sense that they set these little the theme of nature and it coming back to the captain and his decision at the end, it made sense because it was his nature.
Comedy
and then, of course,
gold.
the kind of Galapagos and everything else. It was like this multi-tiered reference to that.
I'm sorry.
The
Comedy
man.
gold. You got a guy who like just got promoted to captain. His whole life dream just fulfilled right there. And you send him off, and then you find out, like, oh, he just went into a trap. They're like, all right,
He may be dead.
the adventure continues, boys. Let's go.
Right.
Looks like boats are back on the menu, boys.
Good stuff.
And to be fair, it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was the intention for this to become a series because it is based off of the author Patrick O'Brien wrote, I think, 20 novels with these characters. And so there's plenty of source material to pull from. So I'm sure, and the thing also is, it didn't do half bad at the box office. The thing was made on 150 million, but it made 200. But it made like 211.
Oh, it profited.
Back
That's
then, that means it made money.
right.
Yes,
Something we don't
exactly.
see very often.
Modern day, they lost a lot of money.
I want to point out Tim
My-
McKay's comment because that was
Right.
yes, that was the best line to end on when he's like, "What the bird? Yeah.
Flightless, yes.
Flightless, right?"
Birds.
Well, then they're not going anywhere.
It's like he is never
It's
going to get
genius.
his animals ever.
Genius.
It is such a wonderful line, and he just sells it so really.
I wish they made a Justin. I'm with you. I wish they made a sequel where they just go and fall in love with all the native women. That's a sequel. That's the sequel we all deserve.
They
That's
eat
what those
fruit, hang
characters
out on the
need.
beach.
That's kind of gay.
Hot brown women. That's gay. All right. Cool.
Well, this movie wasn't just called Master and Commander. I didn't actually realize it was like an extended part of the title. And then like when I clicked on it, I went to rent it. I was like, my wife pointed it out. I'm like, oh shit! I'm like, did they make some like shitty sequel like a couple years later? And I'm like, I got like really, I got scared, but it turned out
They
to be
make
fine.
they make a direct to video sequel that stars none of the original.
They have
characters.
Tom Felton as Russell Crowe's character now. All of a sudden, just like,
I was just sitting here like, who would play fake Russell Crowe? That's where I'm like trying
Tom
to Google it
Felton.
real
Like,
fast.
make it Draco Malfoy. Anyway, we're going on to the horizon.
But yeah, no, and you guys want to talk about the climactic fight at the end?
I would love to talk about climax.
Good stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, we're not getting anything. We haven't gotten anything like that in years.
No.
A fight like that. That was so. It's so insane to watch.
It was
again
creative.
today.
it was well filmed. It was
Read it.
interesting.
And watching
Fuck.
like there's something so inspirational about watching like kids, like based off of probably what was true events, right? like just taking charge and leading men into fight and
Yeah.
being decisive and
That's
you know
why I
more of a
watch
man
cell
than will
phone
probably
footage
ever
of
be.
child soldiers in
Yeah.
Africa. Same
Yeah.
reason.
My
I just love
reason.
watching them
and
take charge and.
Jesus Christ. The thing also too about it is that the way Weir approaches the scene is that there's chaos in it. Like there are moments where there are cuts happening so fast. There are almost moments where you don't know who's getting slashed, who's getting shot, and then you also get these wonderful wide shots of the ships, dueling, intercut with all the various sailors, going at each other. And so it's like there's this level of chaos to it, but then you're able to pull back and just appreciate the sheer scope of everything. And it's just incredibly well done top to bottom, and it's just such an exciting piece of action. That is a really good sequence.
And you're
Really?
talking about the scope.
fight.
There's a couple shots after all this chaos and everything where it has the boat and the camera just pulls way, way out. And it's just this tiny little boat. And it's just like, so you have these moments that are so intense and personal and crazy. And then it's just this little tiny boat. It's almost like the toy boat, or not the toy boat, the model the kid carved. It's like that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
so
Symbolism.
that contrast is yeah.
Well, it also shows that a good fight scene is not just the choreography. That's a big part, but it's how you film it, how you edit and clip it all together. Look at the freaking third episode of season 8 Game of Thrones. Really well choreographed fighting there. It doesn't matter. You can't fucking see any of it.
Yeah.
And it's not even just like the visual; it's the storytelling. Like I pointed out before, that just the kid commanding the men to turn the cannon, to make a decision that's life or death. Like winning or losing. This decision is making. Just that written out. That's enough for me to be like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like I don't need a cool explosion or anything like that. It's just storytelling peak. Oh, it makes it better, of course, but still,
You guys remember that scene where Russell Crowe looked over at the other boat and says, "Are you not entertained?"
Oh god.
Was the one-armed kid Blakely or whatever his name was? Was he also the kid that gave the surgeon the beetle?
Yes.
Whenever the surgeon like couldn't go off
Yes.
to the Galapagos and what have you, and he brought him the beetle. I was like, oh, that's sweet. And
He's
the next scene, he's like, I'll die.
He's looking at it, he's like, it's a very common beetle, but thank you.
He's like, there's
I
like a
wonder-
million of these back home, but whatever. It's cool.
I wonder if there's some sort of symbology there. I don't know, like he was
The beetle?
going to potentially go down the path of science instead of being
I think
an officer.
yeah.
maybe?
That was
I think
bad.
that's part. I think that's partly implied because he does take a genuine interest in a lot of the naturalist work that Paul Bettany's character does.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I think it's also more. It's also sort of I think it's almost more of a gesture of respect in a way, where it's like I know this is very important work to you, so I want to contribute something. However, even if it's from a bit of a naive place.
Yeah.
So I think there is. It goes back to the idea of the camaraderie and the respect everyone has for each other on the ship.
Yeah.
Where it's in lesser films, maybe you'd have some dumb bully characters, ripping on the kid for having lost his fucking arm. There's not a single line of that anywhere. There's not a lick of
I
that.
smashed your beetle, nerd.
Because he's
Literally,
right?
literally, and there's
even
not
if
a
you just-
line of that in there. Everyone, literally, they look down at this kid and be like, "You're a fucking trooper."
You're
It's
a
al-
badass. Yeah.
It's almost like he starts to go with the scientist, right? And you're like, well, he lost his arm. Like he's obviously can't be on the seas forever at this point. But then you watch him in the final fight, and you're like, whoa, his heart is in this. He's
I still
like,
got
it doesn't
one.
matter
Yeah.
if he's missing
That
an arm.
kid is
His
the-
heart is
that
at the
is
seas.
the stuff of legends.
He
It's
has
like,
no infirmity. He is because
That's
of who
D&D
he
character
is.
fuel right there.
it's
that
a bit
him
of
missing an arm is not going to be the limitation to him that it would be to so many
Right.
others.
and I wonder, and I'd like to go and sit down and actually read more of O'Brien's series because of this. I wonder if he does wind up
I do
being
wanna
a
read it,
recurring
yeah.
character, and if it's almost sort of like the way the way Edgar Rice Burroughs had the Barsoom series, where you have the first few that are about John Carter, Deja Thors, and then a next few that are about their children and their place in Martian, in Martian life. So I wonder if there's something similar happening there, where you see this kid grow up, grow old, and become either a respectable
Anyway,
sailor.
in the sequel, they hit land. He's taken by Aztecs and sacrificed ritually. That's
and you know it's him because
death by Snoo Snoo.
yeah, even though he's aged forward, you can see that.
What kind of movie do you think the sequel?
When he's older, I want to. He's older. He's older. 18.
I think too with the kid, there's that whole theme of the duality of like the individual, and it ties into with the Galapagos your understanding of what something is. Like a lizard can't swim. Yes, it can.
It's
the thing that you understand,
it's swimming.
the thing that you know, it can also do something else that is unexpected. So you watch this kid who doesn't have an arm, he's good at drawing, and then all of a sudden he's shooting somebody. He can go into battle, and you get that glimpses of that with a lot of different characters. Even the kid that
the age of the Renaissance, man. The age of the Renaissance.
The kid in the short bus. I mean, to take that cannonball and jump overboard. Like,
Ballsy.
I didn't expect that. That caught me off guard.
The guy does the craziest.
Something that
And again, going back to Weir's sense of direction. I mean, that shot of just seeing him going underwater, looking up, that
with a smile.
And here's the thing: for those who don't know this director's history, people might know Peter Weir because he did a lot of Hollywood films, like he directed Truman Show, which I know you guys have actually done.
We just talked about it like last week.
Last week,
did
2 Weir movies in a row.
and he-
That's cool.
Yeah, and he made and he also directed Dead Poets Society with Robin Williams. He did Witness with Harrison Ford. But he
I've seen Witness, yeah.
But Peter Weir's an Australian filmmaker, and one of the films he made in Australia was Picnic at Hanging Rock, which is this very, very moody, lyrical, atmospheric film about this disappearance of some schoolgirls. And there's this haunting quality.
Peace out, home.
Adios, church. There's this haunting quality about the film where it's like you're kind of almost trapped in this weird dream sort of state. And moments like when he goes overboard and there's that shot of just him going under the water with a smile on his face looking up, that reminded me that this is the same guy who made Picnic at Hanging Rock. And just knowing that it's almost because I understand it, he's retired, so this is the second to last thing he ever made. The most recent film was The Way Back in 2010, which was a biopic, I think. So. It's like knowing this,
he didn't have a niche with his filmmaking.
He didn't. He really directed just about anything and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
As Truman Show to this, it doesn't. They're nowhere near the same kind of film.
I know.
Nothing about him is
not at all.
Even comparing the sea scenes, right? There's that sea scene in Truman with the storm. Yeah. Even comparing those, I mean, you could, I guess, kind of see it, but like,
take out the boat. We're just actors.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
Well, yeah. Tim McKay brings a point. I mean, yeah, he's smiling because he genuinely thinks that this is the right thing to do, and it kind of was. He's a bad omen. He did what he needed to do, which sucks. That's what he was destined for. But hey, it is what it is. All right,
and
guys.
again, that's the fascinating thing.
I like Missouri Breaks wrote in the chat a couple quotes. There's a couple really good lines in this movie. Several. I didn't get them all, but ones, yeah. Whenever Aubrey is toasting his mate, he says, "A toast to wives and to sweethearts. May they never meet."
They never meet. I love that. I love that so much.
2 other great lines. One is, it's like looking for an honest man in Parliament. I'm like, oh man, the world's never changed. And then whenever the surgeon is telling Aubrey, "I can't repay you," and he responds, "Tosh, name a shrub after me. Something prickly and hard to eradicate."
My favorite thing, though,
a based individual in any timeline. Fuck the government.
My favorite thing, though, is when he's telling about the first time Lord Nelson ever spoke to him, and he leans and he's like, "And the first thing he ever said to me was, pass the salt."
yes, that was great. I shall never
second time. You must always choose the lesser of two weevils, Kalta.
Oh yeah,
No.
that was another good one.
That was a great. I loved that.
All right. Every line's a banger. What do we decide, guys?
Right.
What do
think
we
it stinks.
decide?
We go through all this.
Easy one.
Oh, Sinker, terrible film.
Yeah,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. This Oh, this
Sheesh,
doesn't
the
just
sea
float.
sheen by the seashore.
Oh, this doesn't just float. This fucking flies. This shit's
Yeah.
like the goddamn Jolly Roger and Peter Pan just going off.
It
into
does the
s-
thing that the boat does in the movie The Bats wanted to win, but it actually doesn't.
I would say it's not the cultural bomb that something that like Wayne's World was, but
Yeah.
it's a history bomb in the same way that
It's no
was
Wayne's
a-
World.
You know what was also a history bomb? The little boy bomb, Hiroshima.
Yeah.
Well, sadly it didn't blow up the box office like it should have.
Yeah.
But I mean
Yeah,
that's just having too good of a problem of like too many
Too
good
many
options.
good movies coming.
Yeah, man.
Which now it's like the good movie of the year is Deadpool and Wolverine.
And that's
yeah.
not very good.
Fucking it's like, yeah, it's fun, and that's about it. And that's our best movie, 2024. Woo!
Like someone posted a picture from like 19, I think it was like either 89 or something of like what was coming out in theaters. It was like 4 of like my favorite films.
Like
of all
Karate
time.
Kid was on there, and yeah.
I'm like, dude, people complained. It's like it was like very first world problems. Like there are too many good movies to see.
All right.
What a
What's
bummer.
our first topic? You know,
Our
post-
first topic. I have to read you after. Hold on. All right, here.
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
We had a 1
Yeah,
second
stop.
seconds of quiet. We have to cancel the show. It's over. All right, environment as a character. So do we mean like nature, or do we mean like just the environment of a story?
Probably
Because
Yes.
like if you say you're writing a book, a city could be in the environment. It's like
Absolutely.
a character.
Yeah,
and
it's
something
like-
that-
What? Who would call a place a character? What?
people who read good books, bats.
That's just not a thing. What?
I say it's because you can look at it two two ways. In terms of environment as character, as far as nature goes, you can. I tend to look at it almost as if any time we're dealing with like weather or the elements as a force within a story, I just call that all right. What's Mother Nature doing in this script?
Well,
You know,
I have
what
2
is-
here. It's force of nature as an antagonist and environment as a character, but they're kind of
God.
they're a little related. So I guess
They-
I think
Yeah,
I think they can
can
work the
overlap.
same
They
way.
don't have to.
Yeah,
They don't have
because on the other side also as just environment as character as in setting as character. I think that is one of the big things a lot of people should always consider when going into a work, like because there's something about certain locales, certain histories of locations, and certain local colors that will inform and influence the atmosphere and the plotting of a book.
Yep.
Like I think about a very weird, interesting concept where Bernard Herrmann, who is a big film composer, most people remember him for the music for Psycho and Taxi Driver. But when he had scored Vertigo, the Alfred Hitchcock mystery film with
yeah.
James Ford Kim Novak.
Wait, he did
his
that film? He's ancient.
Oh yeah, no, because his first film was Citizen Kane and his last film was Taxi Driver.
Citizen Kane. Kane. Overrated. I'm gonna say it. Overrated.
Uh-oh.
It's
Is that
okay to
Kane?
be wrong, Bats. You're alive.
Retard
Is it
alert.
Kane?
Retard alert.
WWE
And it-
because I'd watch
But
that.
with
Choke
But the
slamming,
funny,
dude.
but the funny thing with
Undertaker.
the funny thing with Vertigo is that his only contention is that he felt like San Francisco was the wrong place for it to be set. He originally thought that Vertigo should have been set in New Orleans, and funnily enough, when Brian De Palma made Obsession, which is essentially his takeoff on Vertigo, he set a good chunk of the action in New Orleans, and he actually was able to get Bernard Herrmann to score it, and it was like one of his favorite projects before he died. It was literally it was his penultimate film. Then he scored Taxi Driver, and he passed away, I think, Christmas Eve in '75. But it's interesting to compare and contrast the two, because you think about New Orleans, you think about its history, the Southern Gothic locations, and you think about San Francisco, and you think about all of the Spanish and all the Spanish history there with the bell tower that a lot of the film centers on,
and cheap illegal labor.
Right.
I was gonna say one's Cajun, the other one's gay.
Jesus. Well, back in the 50s,
he's not wrong. Confirmed. Been there. It even works with fake places, like places in fictitious
Gotham.
stories, like Gotham, or like think of Hogwarts from Harry Potter. Like that's environment as a character, absolutely.
100%.
Two of my favorites.
And I think
Rapture from BioShock.
and
then just the town of Silent Hill.
Because the whole idea with Silent Hill is that there is some inexplicable animating force throughout the town that creates these various environments and this ability to cross over between worlds. And I think about, great example is in the very first game.
Ported.
Jesus Christ. I get it. It's current year +9.
So I'll say, like, Master and Commander, very much the nature part is a character, not the antagonist.
Yeah, force of nature as an antagonist.
Well,
right.
Yeah, because frankly,
It'd be
anytime
like
you
Hatchet.
have a story set at sea, nature has to be an antagonist.
No, 100%.
Of some sort.
Yeah.
It's like, look at White Squall. If anyone's ever been on a sailboat when things go really, really wrong, that's it.
But also similarly, it also is one of those cases where environment as character is almost a guaranteed thing, because captains and crew always personify their ships. They're always calling them she's. They're always she's doing good. She's a good gal, and all that. And so there is really that Master and Commander is a really good intersection of the two, where you're getting beaten up by the elements and you're having to go through hell and back, getting lost in fog, using fog.
Mommy nature's coming at you, man.
You have to suicide one of your seamen to progress.
It's like, yes, there's storms, and yes, there's naval
Hey,
battles,
she's
but
full of semen.
More importantly, it's centered around a game of cat and mouse between two genius captains.
Mm-hmm.
The captain. Sorry, we're going back to the movie. Anyway, it floated. It was good. We can even use some indie examples here too, like whatchamacallit. Like, I'll use Razor's book. The Long Moonlight. The city there. It really creates this atmosphere for which this story takes place. And there you go, right? Long Moonlight. And it is so much different than in the next book where he's in the desert, and the desert creates an entirely different story with the same person. There you go. Justin, you're on it today, man. I'm so proud of you. Look at it.
I have a bookshelf. It makes it a little bit easier to be like, where's it at?
Well, I'll say it's maybe not a necessity to have the environment completely in your mind, but if you want it to be better, right? Like, if you want it to be thank you. That's something. It needs to be something that keeps in your mind, because the environment is something that's just naturally going to play in with your characters and give more of a natural feel to even the individuals going throughout the story. So it's like when I read stories that just feel like they skip out on that, and I've talked about some of that recently.
It's not a make or break thing in a book, but when it's there, it's and it's well done. It's really appreciated.
But sometimes if it skips it completely, you can feel the dullness off of the story when you're reading.
And I think. Yeah, and I think also to use my own work as an example, the case of Haven, the case of Haven in the world of 365 Infantry is Jesus God. Thanks, Vanna White. The case of Haven is that because it is controlled by this centralized artificial intelligence based network, the city of Haven is almost innately a character, because it's this extension of the central villain. And I had this really fun little moment where I was writing one of the weekly Flash stories, and a character goes out for a walk down the street. And I always write.
So who? Wait. No, don't tell me. Who does he flash?
Jesus Christ! Flash anyone.
We have one of these coming out every single week. Your weekly flash story from 365 Infantry.
Oh Jesus fucking God! Anyway, so he's going for an evening walk, and I always describe Haven similarly to Los Angeles in Blade Runner, in that it's always this cobalt blue. It's always this misty, foggy thing, and he just starts walking out one day, and he's like, "Would it kill you to change the color once?" And then instantly, all the street lights turn into this like mauve sort of color, and he's like, "Fair enough, you win this one."
The Mauve Avenger.
It's like, oh, you don't like blue? How about sea green? See how long it takes you to get tired of that color.
If you don't like blue, how about blood red?
Wait. That's basically what I'm living in right now. Hold on here.
I'd like to do a little something. Can we think of a movie example that doesn't have really much of a setting, or just like a strong setting, and that was successful without that aspect? I'm sure there are something. There is something.
Opposite.
There are a lot of movies in New York, and a lot of them don't really capture New York that well.
I was going to say a lot of just generic city where it's like, wait, and then you look it up and it's filmed in Vancouver. They weren't even in New York, and it's like, oh, I guess it didn't matter.
There are films like that, and I think there are also films where it's neither the city as a character, but there's a lot of very much of a regional sensibility about it. Like my favorite example of that is The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 from the 70s, where it's a New York City film, but New York City isn't really, a character per se, but everyone is such a fucking New Yorker in that film. Right down from Walter Matthau down to the goddamn, hijacker.
I got one that's really common. Almost every film set in Hawaii, it does not feel like Hawaii at all.
Yeah.
Does it feel more like
I'll
Hawaii?
be the judge of that.
You want to challenge me?
You're the haka.
Go ahead, call him a Howie. Call him a Howie.
Mackay!
So give us a good example of one of those Hawaiian movies that didn't do it well. But then also, was it like successful? Because that's where I'm really trying to get to.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall. That's a great example. That's a film set in Hawaii, and it could be set almost butt fucking anywhere.
Yeah, any tropical place.
I don't know about that.
They had luau's.
Oh yeah, they did the surfing and stuff.
Like I said, ignorance is the main problem here.
Like they didn't get the setting correct, but that didn't make the setting of the movie bad. Does that make sense?
I see. You're saying
like maybe they failed to get in Hawaii, but they succeeded at having a decent setting for the story.
Imagine if they had a film set in the Midwest and they just made everybody gay.
Fargo?
But the setting was great. It just wasn't right.
Oh, so like the real
Same
Midwest.
thing. You son of a
Fargo? I don't remember that.
Fargo? I think everybody was gay.
Question for the resident Hawaiian then. Is it true that you guys are crack addict addicted to Elvis Presley?
Yes. No. No, like people who haven't like seen like real Hawaii, they don't know that there's this weird subculture that's like it's like emo Hawaiian. It's like a combination of LA like gangster dress mixed with emo, mixed with locals, and it's the
Kahuna.
weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen.
You're like a proper halfway house in the Pacific, basically.
Look, Kahuna, we know a loser when we see a loser. Like, you don't have to act all special.
Every day in the mirror, buddy. But no, like I'll give you one. 50 First Dates, very good movie, and it does feel like I've met people over there who are a lot like less exaggerated versions of those people. It feels like Hawaii in that movie. Genuinely,
it is interesting to hear that too, because I'd gotten on a big kick of getting into like New Zealand music and New Zealand film, and of course we all know that Peter Jackson comes from New Zealand, and obviously it's Lord of the Rings, but also I was interested in a lot of the very local stuff, like how artists like Dave Dobbin, who are popular in New Zealand, but have like one chart hit in Australia and are like not known anywhere else in the world. And so it's interesting to hear that even like Hawaii has that weird thing where it's like some people are just like, oh, it's the tropical destination, and then they do nothing else with it. So that's
to be fair, they like the U.S. government they didn't do Hawaiian people very many cultural favors for a period of time. They weren't allowed to speak Hawaiian. They were forced to speak like Micronesian and Tahitian and other stuff. Like not English. You can learn that, but like we'll even let you speak another language, just not yours.
It's strange too, especially because you look to go back to New Zealand, you look at the Maori language, which is basically a second tongue on the island. You know, where literally you have anything written in English is written in Maori.
Maori were the most metal Polynesians, I'll say that.
Oh my god! And some of the fucking athletes I'm seeing coming out of New Zealand are fucking insane.
All right. Well, back to settings. Screw Hawaii. Who cares about the tidal island?
Try that again, brother. We're ready this time.
All right, we're talking about environments, right? Like not necessarily locations, right? So a forest.
Real quick. That was a very
swamp.
cuck sounding statement there, Joe. I just wanted to let you know. But anyway, you continue.
That just makes you a beta cuck.
Yes. Love the audible click before it plays. That's my favorite part.
You know, you got a forest, you got swamps. I think ocean is just like the most
swamps.
is the easiest one that comes to mind.
30 days of night.
Especially with
oceans.
30 Days of Night does not utilize the environment really at all, except for the nighttime.
It's an antagonist. The weather is an antagonist.
Yeah,
it's the direct cause of vampires being able to F up everybody.
The dark?
The dark, and then the fact that there's
wait, what did I
so
say?
nobody can fly in and out. I get it now. Yeah, but like just thinking back, I don't remember anybody like freezing. I guess. Well, yeah, no.
It's what kept them inside, though.
No.
It's
Oh wait,
coming back
no.
to me, yeah.
They were having their blood sucked actively. I don't think freezing was their main.
Yeah.
What was the Stephen King miniseries where there was a character that froze? It took place up in the Northeast. I just watched
The Shining, or not the miniseries. That's not the miniseries.
Although he froze too, but there was another one where somebody froze. Where the
miniseries?
He likes to freeze.
Was it Storm of the Century?
Yes, that's it. That's the one. That's the one. Yeah. So the storm was so bad, they had a really bad blizzard, and people went out to, do different things to get the power on or this or that, and they disappeared, and they found him frozen and things of that nature. But that was a problem. It's like, we need to go do this, but the blizzard's so bad, don't go out. All that. The cold.
The Day After Tomorrow is nothing but environment.
Yeah.
The people are kind of shitty, though, too. There's been lots of antagonists in that film.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But here, also, let's see what else we got. We got story research, which is something AC brought up. Like,
yeah, that's
I'll ask this: like, how much research should you put into?
Oh man, if you're not on a watch list after researching, you're doing something wrong, dude.
Why do you think I became a writer? I needed an explanation that would pass.
Bro, I mean, sometimes the shit that I search on, like, because, I got somebody dying. Like, I got somebody with heat powers. So I'm like, okay, at what point does somebody die from, a heat stroke or something like that? I need to know that. There's just so many different ways I need to know how people can die.
I was looking up scurvy and all kinds of
If
stuff.
you start eating your own flesh to sate your own hunger, how long will you last?
What are the effects of cannibalism? Just curious.
Self-cannibalism.
Brains, man. Brains.
I will say this. My one thing with research is that I'm very much a get what you need and then get on with it. And I think that is one of the nicer things about, being in the internet age where, for example, when researching languages, back in the day, say someone's scripting an episode of Johnny Quest, no one's going to sit down and look up a regional tongue for a native tribe or something. So they're just going to tell the voice actor, make up something that vaguely sounds Spanish or Portuguese, and they run
like
with it.
Highlander.
So you have a bunch of these nonsense languages. But now you can actually
anyway, I'm Spanish.
I'm Spanish.
But
We
anyway,
fuck.
so not only can you now look up words, so you now have written language, but also you can look up phonetic enunciations, and you can actually work on learning enough to say like perform. Like a good example, again to use my own work, is that on Alan Firedale, I've actually done 2 episodes where I speak Navajo, and I learn
Navajo.
words phonetically. Right.
Sorry.
Well, yeah. I mean,
And
look. Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
No, and it's really it's nice to do that, because I look at I like there to be a level of authenticity, but also if you're writing something, it's all about scope too. It's one thing if you're writing an epic. If you're writing an epic and you have to develop this very fleshed out world, and you want to have all this information on hand, like, I mean, for God's sakes, Richard Adams created a language for rabbits. There is a Latine glossary at the back of Watership Down. There are people who put a lot of effort into that, but at the same time, you're just writing like
made me so upset when I was a child.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
Still
creating a new language, that's a whole different thing. But I'm like, to me, it's like, if I get a sense that you didn't even do your bare minimum research on something.
Well, if you're
like,
wrong
especially
about
with
really
books coming out
things often,
yeah,
it's gonna be,
especially in today's age, it like upsets me, because I'm like, bro, we're gifted with Google and other technologies. They didn't have that shit back then. They had to go guess.
Yeah, and one of the other fun things too, I think about is that for me personally, research has always been fun. Whenever I'm working on anything, whether it's working on a video topic or working on book, I love researching. I also love working with people who also research with me. Because on 365, I've got a concept consultant who's been my high school, he's been my friend for life, and both of us have this obscene knowledge of like military history. And so we're going to be whenever I need an idea for like a bizarre military vehicle, I'll just roll up to him and be like, hey, what weird shit do you got for me?
That's kind of gay.
That's awesome. I like that.
What do you got for me, big boy?
Jacket. We got an M42 Duster. We got M50 Antos. We got the M56 Scorpion. What
you need? What you got?
Scorpion.
I always bring up this example, but there's a popular booktuber, and he kept referring to the magazine as a clip, and I'm like, you're obviously not a gun person.
Are you referring to the one that we've talked about before?
Yeah, Daniel Green. He ain't seen this shit. But I mean, like, he's like, look, politically, he's I'm guessing he's anti-gun, which is fine, no problem, whatever, right? But like, if you don't know anything about guns, and you have a gun part that you don't know, or maybe you're guessing or second guessing yourself.
Just Google it.
Just Google it.
Yeah.
Why are you calling, like, you're taking me out? I'm like, this person's supposed to be proficient with guns, and they're calling a magazine a clip. Like, this is basic, simple stuff. And then I'm like, okay, how much of the other shit in this book is zero research been done? It's lazy. Yeah. I hate that.
Hear me out. Do what I do to all my military friends to piss them off. Call it a magazine clip. Just see what happens.
I accept that. All right. I accept that.
Oh, my buddy used to get so pissed. Yo, Maji!
Hey! Maji in the house.
I had to.
I thought you said Maji is a hoe. I'm like, holy fuck. She just got here, man.
Extensive amount of nautical research when I was writing my novel. About a third of the book is lost at sea, so I got the fun Google searches like, how many calories in a human body? Can you get enough potassium if you eat them to prevent scurvy? Like, what types of food have the most scurvy? Or sorry, what types of
top 10 uses for porpoise fat.
So
yeah, vitamin C in raw meat. Like can I just eat algae?
This is an aside, but like in cannibal culture, there are guys that like, yo, if you're eating another human well done, you're a loser. Like, that's not the right way.
He looks over. Don't eat the dick.
Medium rare, no human at all.
Totally,
I'd rather have cow.
Emily, you're 100% spot on with that, actually, because there's more nutrients if you don't cook it. I found that out in my
Well, I know
research.
why AC is going to be on the evening news next time I check.
Spoilers, but that's how they kind of get by. They have to use.
That's how you get brainworms, though.
No, I know. You
Yeah.
avoid the brain stem and the brain.
They
Bats.
don't
Every
eat
cannibal
much.
knows that.
They're fine.
Every cannibal knows that.
If you're not cooking your
That's
meat
what I'm
at
saying.
all, you maybe
In
deserve it.
Garden, you
Kahuna.
learn that. Moving on.
Did you get to the, you just started my book. Did you happen to get to the island chapter?
Yeah, we're on the
Okay.
island.
Oh, that's a good movie,
So
too.
that chapter had more research done on it than anything else. And
I
it
watched every season of Alone, front to back.
Well, I was really on a Survivor kick, and I was just like watching it, but like Naked and was it Naked and Afraid or something like that, like a bunch. And I'm like, like so, I'm like, of course I had to insert that into my book, and but like it became to this whole thing where I'm like, okay, they got they got to figure out how to drink water or whatever. So what are they going to do with bowls? So I had to like Google the shit out of all this stuff, and like somebody breaks a leg, how do you patch it up or whatever, this and that, and it's just
Look it up. What do you do when
copious
you
amounts
break
of
your leg
research.
on an island by yourself? Oh, you die.
Yeah, basically. No, it turns out being lost at sea or on an island is probably one of the worst fates you could do. Like, you might as well just jump into the water if you know you're not going to be rescued.
No, but you don't know that.
You don't know that exactly.
No, all of these old ships, they were like they were. I read the journals of guys. They had times just no wind for like no wind. They can't move anywhere. They're stuck there for like I'm talking like 3 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're like, we may die out here. We're running out of water. We're drifting. We're not moving anywhere. We're boned.
My real quick, I want you guys to tell me some of your proudest research injections. Don't be afraid of spoilers, but if you don't want to spoil anything, that's fine. For my book, just more on the cannibalism thing, I'm really proud of because they get lost at sea, swept away by a storm during a mutiny, so everything is just effed right after that, right? They had to throw a bunch of stuff overboard. Lightning was cracking, which is attracted to their weapons. The ship is higher elevation than the water. Lightning might strike these goddamn swords. Throw them overboard was the solution, which creates a situation of have and have nots. Some people have swords, others don't, the people who refused. But anyway, they're lost, and scurvy, starvation, sickness, all that. Basically, their solution is, and it's morbid, but it's freaking on point with like the movie we watched, right? They'd made some pragmatic decisions, and you just have to when you're at sea. But the connection was made that essentially they were drawing sharks, and she had to make the choice to, like, anybody who dies like of scurvy or something, just pass them along to the dragonborn reptilian people who are now her like freed slaves who like do whatever she wants, and in secret they'll make some chum for the sharks, and you draw a shark in, and you have somebody like that kid in Master and Commander out on the little ship, right? You have like a team out there using the chum, quote unquote, to draw the sharks in. Then you freaking capture a shark, and everybody has enough like potassium and vitamin C after that. And I had them try that enough times for them to get to a point where they could reasonably find algae, because there's certain types of surface algae that have vitamin C in it, and you can dry that, make it into a powder, put that powder into your bone soup and stuff like that. Yeah, you do. But that's kind of how I got through it. They eventually found algae. They failed at catching sharks, which is really interesting, until they don't fail, and then they have shark, and it's like this cool moment. I could have wrote the whole book like this, and it would have been awesome.
See, this is why I'm a bad student. I've done copious amounts of research on both of my books, and I remember almost zero of it. But I know Tale of the Dunce Whisperer.
I mean, you're on a short bus right now. Did we expect another result here? Or
I definitely had to look up some absolutely retarded shit for Dunce Whisperer.
Oh, dude, I started doing research for a story I was writing about El Canada. It's in the future where America bombs the crap out of itself. It gets too dry, so everybody goes to Canada. They meet a bunch of like Indian people up there, and they're brown, so they think they're Mexican, and that's why it's called El Canada.
Shouldn't it be El Canada?
It's the most retarded story I've ever heard.
El Canado.
Oh yeah, it's Mexican.
Yes. Hi.
I will.
Hold on, guys.
Hello.
Elric, say hi.
Hi.
You are very loud.
Hello.
I put you back.
Hola. Welcome
They-
to El Canado.
They say, I'm not repeating that. All right, guys, I'll be right back.
What did
All right.
say?
Kelta, you're in charge.
Yep. We'll read
I don't know if that means everyone's going to be more retarded or less retarded, but anyway, I'll just keep going. on.
Always more retarded.
Pretty much. My favorite research moments aren't even necessarily like, oh, did I get something 100% accurate, but is taking concepts and then stretching them around to work within the story. Like a good example is, because the series 365 operates on a lot of rule of cool, what I'll ultimately wind up doing is taking elements and Rottweiler pusher, fantastic. What I'll ultimately wind up doing is like, okay, no one's going to do this because it sounds insane, but because we're already in borderline fantasy territory as is, we're going to push this to the limit. A good example is the character of Lita from Urban Adventure. And I don't make a big deal out of this, but the V8 in that car is actually right in the hood. So that bug has a slightly elongated hood, as opposed to, the standard model where you couldn't fit shit into that boot. But the thing is, there are V8 there. Paul Newman actually made a Indy ready V8 VW Beetle, except the engine was in the back seat, so it was like directly behind him, and then he had cooling coming through the boot at the front of the car. So yeah, as everyone slowly files out.
I was actually Googling pictures of it, but
yeah, no. So it's like
You're
there's stuff
Googling
like
pictures
that.
of me again? What?
Totally. Anyway, so there's stuff like that. There's stuff like I mentioned the M56 Scorpions, which for those who don't know are basically these small mobile anti-aircraft guns.
Mhm.
And what I did was essentially, because they have a really slow, really slow top speed, I give them a fucking I can't remember if it's a V or if it's an inline, but I give them a 12-cylinder engine, so it's like it's not gonna hit Jaguar speeds, but it ain't gonna be capped at like 35 miles an hour. This fucker's gonna.
Well, it's like people who don't know anything about tanks. They assume all tanks move slow.
No,
I'm like,
dude.
I've seen tanks that go like 50, 60 miles per hour, dude.
Right.
Culta, this goes in line with double research. You get double research points here because historically, and Napoleon was obsessed with this. The Mongolians were obsessed with this. The Huns. Every great battle commander knows that speed, mobility, the ability to it equals adaptation. So you can you can form up your line, get some new information. And because you've invested in mobility, you can just reform your stuff and win the battle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's also one of the other things that I like about the way I structure battles in the main series story, The War, because you'd think, you'd think by sheer overwhelming, these giant, quarter-mile long hover tanks would be like, oh god, it's the apocalypse coming down on these guys. But because everyone is in these comparatively smaller cars and bikes, there's greater maneuverability, so there's a greater chance to get it and start hitting the weak spots on these tanks, which I think the general rule of thumb is that the turret ring is the weakest spot in universe. So if you eat through the turret ring, basically that tank's done for. So it's really fun working out those strategies, and it's really great working with my friend on that too. Because we're always going over like not just battle strategies, but also the practical stuff. Because while this is a rule of cool series, while this is mostly like a Saturday morning cartoon for adults kind of setup,
you don't want to be like Mortal
Engines. A level of realism to the act. So it makes
I nerfed my overall military weaponry in my sci-fi book.
Same.
Well, because it's I was like, okay, this is in the future. We already have artillery that could fire 80 miles away, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to have to think about a artillery shell that can fire 80 miles away when I'm doing a big, because eventually there's going to be a big war. So
Right.
I did justify it away, basically being like, oh, because they've got this AI technology that's been ruling over them for years and years and years.
Yeah.
It's like they stopped producing that stuff. So there's other weaponry and stuff produced, but not
Like people.
not for like that.
The AI can breed it out of them, so to speak. Like make them have floppy ears, like in a couple generations.
They could still theoretically
what?
build the technology, but
That's a Fox
like they would
study,
have
Kahuna.
to start building it if like a war surprised. But
Right.
with
Well,
this
I think-
AI, he has so much control. He doesn't. That would never happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't
Well,
that
I think-
the,
I
that's
think
the case
also-
with the knee. Go ahead.
Good God. Well, I think also another thing I wound up doing is it's fun to devise plausible tech, even though it's not fully realistic. Like a good example is how laser guns in the series actually work, where it isn't like, oh, these are these specially modified super sci-fi, prototypes or anything. What it is essentially this charged up cartridge that you load up, and it locks itself into place, and it basically acts like a bump stock where you just keeps slapping it, and so you have everything. Basically, everything becomes like a machine gun, more or less.
So you're saying your proud research moment is to do research on multiple areas and then create like hybrid story building elements or world
Basically,
building
yeah.
elements.
It's you take what you need, and then you take what you need, and then you kind of synthesize it into the elements that help keep the plot going, that keeps the world on a state, makes the world make sense, basically. There's stuff that I've conceptualized that I don't even have to write about in the series. So long as I understand how it works, it's just like it's there. It's part of the world. We talk about it like we understand it, and you don't have to go crazy on it.
Yeah. And before we pass it along to the next one, I just want to say, like the reason the C stuff is my proudest is because I don't know. Like I even worked in a warehouse with tons of people, like from all different kinds of backgrounds, and I went around and asked certain people if they had any sailing experience and stuff. And the closest I got was a scuba diver. Okay, so I didn't know like any sailors. I couldn't show anybody a passage and be like, "Is this on point?" So
wait, where are you asking these people? You just walking like the Bob Evans, like, "Hey, does anybody near sail?"
No, he worked in a warehouse.
Is anyone a seaman?
I prefer just walking around on the street, just go up and be like, "Excuse me, sir, do you sail?" No.
Yes.
Do you sail? And then there's like someone like
in the middle of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt a wind on your face in the spray of the sea?
During the lockdowns, yep. And the floppy ear comment I made earlier, Kahuna, there's a study that they did in Russia where they found out it only takes about 2 or 3 generations of selective breeding to make a fox have floppy ears.
You
just
have
have
talking
to.
about people. I'm like, what the fuck are you?
No,
I don't really remember where I put it in, but I know like if I learn like some quirky like factoid, I'll probably try to incorporate it into my story somehow, just to be just to have the reader be like, wait, is this a real thing? I don't remember what those cases were, but I'll say with my final thought on this is just like, especially when I was at school, hate the idea of studying, hate it. But it's like, this is what the great thing about like writing a book is. It's like, man, this makes me love doing the research and actually learning stuff. So it's like,
absolutely.
I don't know. I wish I did this in high school because then maybe I wouldn't be such a fucking tard.
Yeah. What's your proudest moment, Bats? Your proudest?
I have bad recall when it comes to just anything. Okay. So it's like I can't really think. I do remember very specifically though, like with the island. Like there's a part with like a charcoal thing where they're like carrying like a wooden tube of like charcoals, which to be able.
As soon as you said charcoal, I was like, based.
Be able to produce a fire at a different location much quicker. You just lay the hot coals there and then boom.
Yeah. Evely, did you? I know the musical equivalent exists for you. What was something that like?
It's all the production aspects. It's just, the research is near endless. It seems like, especially with new like plugins and even like AI mastering and all this sort of stuff. But it's nigh on endless watching other people do things.
Researchers plugs. Good.
Do like really highly rated, highly viewed producers showing you how to mix or do EQing on vocals or something of that nature, and they don't do the same thing. And then you're like, oh, and
What's interesting too on that front is learning the old school ways of doing things. Like the way I was able to understand reverb is when I watched Bruce Swedian, who's legendary engineer, legendary producer, worked with major stars, including Michael Jackson, and seeing just the way they demonstrate reverb, where you're actually playing the speakers, facing a wall, and then you're recording the reverberation coming back.
Oh man, even that was one thing that it's very similar to that impulse relay, I think it's called, on an amp. And in the old days, it was where you had the microphone set up on the amp for recording, and now it's all digital, so it's all like numbers and all of that. But that was something I never knew about it, and I was just doing research one day, and you stumble upon that. It's like, man, something else I didn't even know existed, and now I got to go down that rabbit hole and try to figure it out. And I hate this aspect of music making. I just want to create riffs, and I want to put pieces together and have fun. Then you have to start doing. I hate research, but I've done so much of it, and it's
like technology based. Trying to figure that stuff out. That's
you should just do what Bathory did, which is use every tool in the studio to make the shittest sounding record,
including the trash can across the street.
Angels and Airwaves.
I put my guitar inside of a cardboard box. Yeah.
Angels and Airwaves used like silverware drawers slamming and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, dude. No, that stuff can get cool though.
There was one that was an old mechanical anvil, like coal powered anvil, that would slam metal with pressure, and
that's
they
some
used
Beatles
that as
shit,
part of the
dude.
bait for their song. I'm like,
dishwasher or no, dude. A washing machine door slamming. That's what was it?
I'll say like I did
my soul right there.
I did my own like made up metal, but I was like, I did research. I was like, so is it possible? Are there any metals that get sharper upon heat? Because they typically get duller, right? Obviously, but no, there's actually a point before it reaches, a certain point where it actually does tend to get sharper. So I'm like, well, theoretically, then you could have like a make believe metal that the hotter it gets, it has like an extreme melting point, and it just gets sharper and sharper and sharper, right?
It stays hard because it's a fictional metal. And,
exactly. Well, it's actually more like a floppy metal until you apply heat to it, so it gets harder and sharper.
Well, it's like sci-fi fantasy. We all have to have the unbreakable, cut through almost anything sword. But I don't mind. I love it. But
it's used for armor because the engines can get so hot.
Well, I mean, the way I look at it is the way Stan Lee looks at power scaling, which is the guy who I want to win is gonna fucking win, dude.
Well,
no matter what the setup is.
Kahuna touches on something timeless here. There's certain elements, like a sword is the most basic weapon. Maybe you could argue like a knife or even a spear, because a spear is like it doubles as a walking stick.
Spear is a better weapon than a sword for like your average troop.
There's this timeless truth. There's this timeless truth whenever you get into story writing, especially fantasy, sci-fi. Like sci-fi is a great example, right? Because in a sci-fi world, it's like, okay, this is like space fantasy. This is like futuristic. What is the most realized version of like a melee weapon? Okay, it's gonna look something like a lightsaber or a vibroblade, or like what Bats described, or like what we see in a lot of sci-fi stuff. What's the most realized protection out there? Well, it's going to look like something like power armor or a mech, you know what I mean? Or
like energy shields, like Halo style.
T'Challa's suit with the
no, not that.
Yeah, Iron Man suit.
That suit it creates some problem. It takes away the stakes of the fight.
It does. It's broken.
It's a really major problem in that movie.
Combine that suit technology with Iron Man technology, and then give it all to Spider-Man, and just everybody can retire. Basically, but I think you're right there, Kahuna. So Evely, you were saying that your pride with it comes from like a mechanical aspect, like just building knowledge and tricks.
Pride is the wrong word. It's just something I've done because I've
celebrating pride with Justin.
Okay, something you think is cool about the research, I guess would be a better way. It's something you geek out about, like you're happy with, like, and you're saying like the mechanical aspect.
I mean, learning things so that you can make the overall quality of your sound better is nice.
Well, you're talking about
process.
troubleshooting something essentially. You're not really talking
Yeah.
about it's research, but it's different
Well, I mean,
kind. It's
okay,
not like for
actually,
story writing aspects.
one
or,
thing that
like,
was
for
kind of
music.
fun till I never had like a guitar teacher or anything like that. And there's a dude named Bernth on YouTube who does these awesome tutorial videos. I can't remember what band he plays in. And watching that and trying to research how to play faster. Simple things like, how are you holding your pick? What is your angle of attack? What's your wrist like? Where's your arm placed? That was cool. I looked at that. I'm like, well, my arm's like this. He's like, try just lifting it up like this and just turning a little. I'm like, oh my God, I'm faster now. And that was really cool. Little things like that. So that
Are
was
you
probably
happy or
actually
irritated
fun.
when you find out that I could have been faster?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a tiny little adjustment to
Yep.
just like a
Mhm.
nothing
Yep.
adjustment.
There's so many things where I'm like, if I just had a good teacher when I was young, I would have, man.
So
Yeah.
Well,
I'll
if
say
you have a good teacher, you stand on the shoulders of giants. You don't have to figure it all out yourself. It's way better. Yeah.
Right.
So my wife, I'll say this just because it's a really, really cool concept in my wife's book that she's writing right now. She's got plastic swords. And if you think about it, plastic is really hard, even compared to a lot of metals. And the riot shields are plastic.
Right.
So I don't know, just kind of a cool concept to use plastic, and plus it's completely clear. So then
not
you
to
add.
mention, not to mention, you get to kill your enemies with microplastics.
Yeah. Well, it's like also it's clear, and then also like you think like you put like a sciencey light into it to kind of like I don't know reflect the environment or stuff to make it even more translucent. So like they're kind of almost fighting with like slightly invisible blades that are also
crazy. Actually,
very
that's
deadly.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thinking about that,
Look,
you
I
can't
remember
see where
actually,
any of it is.
I think it was a Kyle Hill video where there was a certain type of like plastic that actually refracted light in such a way that basically it made it look like when you walked behind it, there was nothing there because the way it
reflected two
refracted
different ways. Yeah.
the reflection. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So all like cool things. I saw
I think it's
basically it was
plastic. Yeah, pretty much.
basically we
Hey,
saw
that's-
like a guy try to like on YouTube try to make like an invisible sword, and it was clear plastic and was really cool, but it was like really efficient like as a sword. It was
That's
like
sick.
it's just like, oh yeah, how could I incorporate that and make it
Just
like
don't fight against armor, and since it's plastic, everybody freaking has one. So if one breaks or it's not usable,
It's like
everybody has-
some.
Well, it's like how
Yeah.
you're gonna have to fight completely different. You're having trouble seeing the opponent's blade. So now you got to think there's different even combat style associated with it and
going for
everything.
weak points too. 'cause-
Which, to be fair, as a filmmaker, I'd love to shoot something like that because then you have one, you get to do something practical there. You know, if you had like someone with a suit and then have a squib go off because the sword, essentially, for all intents and purposes, appears invisible.
Yeah.
So there's actually a lot of really
I
fun.
want to see the
opportunities.
story where you have an invisible sword and then you'll lose it.
Well, because it's like, she.
Where did I put that thing?
She's trying to be unique, right? It's like, well, we're not gonna do laser swords. That's been done. Like, special metal, like, vibro blades is like, wait, have people done?
It's made of
plastic swords?
unobtainium.
Yeah. What about just plastic? It's like, that's actually kind of cool. So, and like, kind of futuristic too. So
Well, again, it's taking the common trope, which is like the sword that cuts better or is unbreakable or has some other cool thing about it, and finding a creative way to still do that. Like a friend of mine, he wrote a sci-fi book, and what he did, and what
It's
he
releases
did was
estrogen into the
the
body.
swords and the suits for these characters in the sci-fi world. The metal, only one person in the entire universe knew how to work the metal and how to form it. But because the reason it was you couldn't destroy it was because it came from a different dimension, a different galaxy, like a different existence altogether, and it had somehow gotten pulled into this one.
So
That's
the
why
physics
it
of
could
this
not
world
be-
don't affect it. Yeah,
Yeah,
like gravity.
That's exactly it.
you also got to think too, like culturally, you have like some like gang members, and they're not probably going to use invisible swords. They're probably going to use ones with like neon lights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's stupid and impractical, but
It's
like
like
they
when
would
you're
do
at the
it, they
rave,
try to
you
be
also
flashy.
need to be packing.
Kind of base.
Yeah.
Kahuna, what's something that you've researched in your writing? I know you had a whole novel, and you are a writer. Contrary to what
My
He-
divorce
he's a
really
really
inspired
right-
one of my lost novels. I learned a lot of research there. Really went into it. No, the Hawaiian stuff. Every time I talk to like my grandfather, He'll tell me some more obscure Hawaiian facts that most Hawaiians don't even know. Like the reason, like everybody knows that haole is insult, and
Racial
if you ask
slur.
a Hawaiian who knows, they say it means visitor. But that's not, but why is that an insult? It's not. It's because they don't have the full context. The two parts of the word come together to basically mean you are a visitor here, but you are not welcome, and you will leave with an open hand, meaning you leave with nothing. That's why. That's why it's an insult.
So
You are an unwelcomed guest.
I don't know. Last
it's
time I
kinda
left with a
like
bunch of shit.
What the fuck just happened? One of the Jake. What did you
Sorry,
say?
Jake. Yeah.
No, it's just so it's kind of like how sometimes gaijin is used as an insult in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
Ringo.
yeah, it's used as insult, but they like a lot of times they also generally use that word for outsider.
Oh yeah, no,
but, yeah.
I thought they were just talking about like a guy named Gene. Like, hey, it's that guy Gene.
Oh, dude. I'm passing away.
All right.
My
right,
inspiration
Jake.
for the gang
That's
stories
and
was
that's how you
Terry
kill a
Crews
segment.
at a rave in white.
Villainous descent also was a topic, but
Well, yeah, I think at this point though, with the time, Jake,
Yeah.
you got some stuff you want to show, huh? Maybe somebody can bring it up.
yes.
You want to show us the stuff?
show us your stuff.
Show
The stuff?
Oh dear God. Do I dare use the present button?
Oh,
Yeah, go for it.
present to us.
Don't leak any
Here
Twitter
we have
DMs.
Jacob Kalta presenting for the very first time here on this channel.
He's presenting for us.
Oh dear God.
Kingdom.
Click the fucking button.
Yeah.
Anyway, I said
There we go.
See? There we go.
Hey.
I come bearing the crowdfunder for the magical world of 365 Infantry, the ride for 2025. This is for our 4th year of operation, 2025. And for those who don't know, we are a fine variety hour type project. We release a magazine of 5 short stories every quarter and a 20 to 30 minute audiobook drama on Substack. And it's this exciting, strange, old school. It's part cyberpunk, part post-apocalypse, part heavy metal magazine. So it's
Part furry.
the joke I tell people is I wouldn't let anyone younger than 16 read this. Although your parents would be a hell of a lot more disappointed if they found a copy of Hustler.
If
rather
you're
than if they
within
found a
4
copy.
years of him, you can't read it.
And the long and short of it is it's a classic fight for freedom against a cyberpunk dystopia by the name of Haven, ruled by a decaying AI network known as the Artificially Controlled Ecosystem, otherwise known as ACEs. And our heroes are the best kind of heroes because they are. Look at these little badasses down here.
Yeah,
dressed
I
in
see we
leather
have
jackets.
a back-to-back furry guest, huh?
Do they say
Pretty much.
they're going
No,
to come
Belmont
out?
said he's like, I don't even know what a furry is. Like, what's going on?
Right.
Joe's like,
Well,
oh,
that's-
I know
that's
that.
part
I
of-
know that
Oh,
guy.
dear
I know-
God, we just
Whoa.
I sent down the howl round there. Well, actually, the funny thing about 365 Infantry is that I never considered this project furry, and the reason why is because whenever I looked at a lot of furry work, it's either high fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
So you got your, red walls, Watership Downs, or it's really super contemporary slice of life. And the thing that I really love about this series in particular is the fact that it is so different from everything else. You have, classic cars, you got old Western style revolvers. You can't tell because of how far away it is, but that is a Lamat for fans of fine old Western.
Shotgun and pistol combination revolver. I'm okay
Indeed.
with it.
And I feel like your writing
Yep,
style
and we are
reflects
set-
that uniqueness too. It's got like all these different flavors coming together. The writing is my favorite part. I haven't read anything really like this in terms of the style of the writing and the
John.
word choice and the way the characters interact. It feels old timey in a very delicious kind of way.
John, that's
Thank
so
you.
mean.
And that is the and that is the intention, because the whole ephemera of this series is that I write it as if I'm from the year 1985. I rolled up to Tops, and they're like, "All right, kid, we need a new hot property. All right, friend, I got you covered." And it's this very Cold War inspired piece of sci-fi action. And for those that want to get started, we got our recruitment package here, which is the first 2 years in annual collection form, plus a brand new Roger Steele adventure, because the original novelette from our first edition was expanded into a full novella, The Short Circuit Revolution. We're selling subscriptions to our next year stories. That's 4 issues. That's 20 stories in total, spanning a variety of genres, from wartime action with the war and a lot of hardware based fights and mysteries and fun stuff like that. The Hunt, which is kind of inspired by classic American adventure television, like people roll into town, solve problems, carry on with their goal, that kind of stuff.
Everybody in town's like, who the hell was that?
Pretty much.
That guy, the wolf's head.
Yeah, in the form of The Hunt. The Urban Avenger, which is just anarchy. One hippie punk chick.
Urban Adventures. Sounds a little racial right there.
Urban Adventures.
Dogs don't have races, okay?
Anyway, we're going to be getting off with Urban Adventures up in here.
That is the secret, by the way, to one of the reasons why I enjoy writing this with wolves, is that I feel that having a single species is a much better one-to-one with people than trying to do the weird multi-species thing.
The Urban Adventure, is that another name for ISOM?
Jeez.
Careful, Bats. Eric will unfollow you if you keep it up.
Look, I'm already going to get a subpoena from Razorfist. I don't need one from Eric.
No, you're clearly just you're like a copy of a page. You put it in, but it only prints out like half of it. Yeah, there we go.
Anyway. Don't worry. You have no idea what my plans were for some of the other guests. You're getting off light.
No, I'm fucking sure.
He's a Marine. You are getting off. Wait, what?
just not while the cameras are rolling. Anyway.
That's the after show.
And you also
Look
have
on our Patreon.
Speed Freak Files, which is another one of the comedy series, but based around sort of Western lawman type action, but with our trio of heroes also playing in a heavy metal band, Metropolis, which, bring it full circle, is basically my Motorhead tribute band in world.
Based.
Indeed.
Based.
And so
cool,
and I know this is a very scattershot pitch for this series, because I've always had trouble explaining to people because the only way I can really explain what it is I'm trying to go for is, remember back in the day when you could get like an issue of Marvel Conan or one of like the old Gold Key like Turok comics, and it only cost you like 25 cents and you got like a whole ass adventure.
How old do you think I am?
Yeah, talk to Justin here. Talk to Justin.
Back in my day, we had these 25-cent comics.
Back in my 30s, that
Safety
was
razor.
Point is, my whole goal with this series is that we're not here to save the world. We're not here to cure cancer. We're here to have some fun in a very carefree, relaxed sort of way. And so that's really what the mold of 365 Imagery is all about. It's just fun, sci-fi action, cyberpunk, neo-Western adventures with a very unique world that's themed around a sort of a style of Americana, a sort of very unique synthesis of elements from car culture, bike culture, and elements of film noir, and as I mentioned earlier, the Western. So we got recruitment package, first 2 years all bundled up in beautiful books. I'm sure Justin is shilling the 2022 annual somewhere. Yeah, and also we got if you want to be a top dog, we got subscription packages that basically gets you everything that's coming out next year. All 4 issues of the quarterly, all our book releases, and you get t-shirts. And if you're a real if you're a real hero, you also get a mug.
Yeah, if you don't want to be a worthless person that doesn't get promoted to lieutenant.
Okay, if you're not like a worthless
at the,
poor person, then this is the package for you.
Even at the $30 tier,
Right.
you're getting 4 physical releases. So you $30, and throughout the year, this book shows up, and you get a handful of short stories.
4 physical
4 times throughout
releases.
the
I
year.
paid
So
them
4
more
physical
for that.
releases for $30 is really cool. I love getting I get surprised because I back these projects and I forget what's coming, and the idea of for $30, 4 different issues throughout the year showing up, and I don't know, that's cool to me. I think there's a lot of value just in that one.
Thanks.
The other tier is even better, but for that one too, that's like a great entry point. And you didn't mention, I know Alan Firedale. I don't know if it is on one of the tiers somewhere there, but that's a show that I love. Alan Firedale. I think it's really cool what you did with that. It's like an old time radio show with the sound effects and the voice acting and the music and all that. It's. I haven't heard anything else like it out there.
Actually, let me go back to presenting real quick, because while we don't have them as tiers, we do have them as add-ons. We're doing remasters of year 1. We're doing packages with the OST, because I write all the original music for it.
So this is for Alan Firedale, which is an audio.
This is for Alan Firedale, yes.
Series. Yeah.
Yeah, and as one of the campaign things, you'll also be able to get a bundle, which is years 1 and 2 plus the complete OST thus far, including all the music written for this year's episodes, 6 through 8, that are not, because I'm not just going to dump it as an EP. So you're basically getting everything we got on Alan Firedale. Which, to also just talk quick about some of the rewards, because since I'm just on a roll being a complete schizophrenic selling you this project.
That's good.
I can sell it for you. It's real, guys. It's like furry porn without the porn, and with motorcycles, metal, and a wasteland adventure.
That is pretty much the best damn pitch I can give of this fucking thing. We do have stretch goals, which are bonus comics at the end of our annual collections. 5-pager at the end of the 24.
Comics. That's a new venture for you, right? You haven't done comics before, have you?
The most we did is at the end of the 2023 print editions only. I did a 4-page test piece called The Avengers Creed, which is just a little. It's inspired by the poem "My City" from The Shadow in the Coils of Leviathan, that comic miniseries from Dark Horse.
Okay.
Where it's this piece is sort of like street poetry, in which Lita is just kind of reflecting on her place in Haven as this vigilante in residence. So we have that. We also have the illustrated Electric Anthology. We also, in which basically there's a handful of stories that'll feature old school like pen and ink style illustrations, done by a lead artist, Kevin John Jacob. And there are also a bunch of things that I just, even if we don't fund with this, by the way, I do still plan on, keeping, basically anyone who's backing is going to get what they fucking pledged. I kind of wish I had done this on Indiegogo, so flexible funding would make that easier. And worst case scenario, plan B, I might do another last chance.
Mm-hmm.
But this is happening by hook or by crook, because I've been insanely not just even passionate is even the word for it. This series got me through a fucking lot. It's the one thing I was able to basically call my own 100% as a creative, because as we mentioned earlier on, college was not
to create shit, man. Honestly, and at your age,
absolutely.
this is all really impressive. I've never read anything of yours, but talking to you, seeing how passionate you are, seeing how much production you've put into it already, yeah, I'm down. I want to read.
And the best thing too, I'm going to show you the trick of this all is that all of this, as the internet slowly loads, is in service to keeping the series free on Substack. You can literally go and read all of these fucking stories. It is literally possible. I know not everyone's a fan of the reading digital, especially if it's not especially if it's not in an ebook format. But literally, this is what this crowdfunder. yeah, this is what the crowdfunder is meant to do, is keep this. And also, because I'm twice as much of a psychopath about it, after we do final edits on those second editions, even though I went through and updated all manuscripts over the course of this past year, earlier in the spring, I am going to relay in all these stories. So even online readers will get the most up-to-date drafts of, the most up-to-date final versions of these stories that are being in the second editions. So yeah, no, it is. And the reason why I'm also doing this too, I mean, I wish I could have, started this on DeviantArt, but I hate their UI, and also everything's being drowned in like AI crap.
Yeah.
And and obviously people are be like, oh, why don't you do this on, Fur Affinity or some random shit like that. But actually, one of the founders of that, if I'm not mistaken, just passed away from like medical issues. So that might mean that unless, I don't know, some crazy, crowdfunder or whatever happens, they might actually close up shop because it was being like domain was being taken care of out of pocket. So it's, it's like, this is kind of the place where I've chosen to house series in its web-based, in its webzine format. So everything in Ride for 2025 is going towards keeping that free, and also to getting you the best version of the series possible, especially in the old school pulp format. And that also ends. Crowdfunder ends September 4th. So not next Wednesday, Jesus, that's time is compressing in on itself.
That never goes away, by the way, in case you're wondering.
I know, it's been a fucking blur lately. So crowdfunding ends on September 4th, and whether we make it, whether we don't, there'll be an update on Thursday going out explaining what the next step is. Hopefully, fingers crossed, y'all back. That'd be magical. That'd be wonderful. Even if my pitch to it is, we got all the cool shit. You want to be a cool kid, don't you? Cool kids read 365 infantry. The T levels, they just jump. They jump.
Listen to this cracker. You know what he's saying, boy.
The T levels crank. Yeah. No, you're on my list, brother.
Sick, and like,
to be honest,
I've tried the whole digital thing. I've purchased maybe 20 books on digital from indie people. I can't do it. I've tried, but I will buy your books because I want to read them. So that's my path forward. But I do appreciate all like people like you and AC and everyone who goes through all this effort to make the book as available as possible in any format that they can. Yeah, obviously, in some way, like you did the whole audio kind of drama thing too, which is fun as well. It's a lot.
Yeah, and on top of that too, I do want to make a free version of Alan Firedale, because for those who remember the old weird Synchrovox cartoons, like Clutch Cargo, Space Angel, shit like that. I like that 5-minute cliffhanger style of serial. And I'm thinking that might be an interesting way to bring Alan Firedale into a free version, where it's like you have maybe 1 or 2 serials every, 1 or 2 serials a month. And it's always 5 episodes, 1 released every day of the week.
That'd be cool.
All right, let's get final words in. Close it up.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Oh, good heavens! Look at the time.
Yeah.
But look at the time.
Your stuff kind of influenced my Spirit Animals idea.
Payback time.
Man, there's people putting entire stories out on Substack and shit. I'm gonna get on top of that. So yeah, everybody get his stuff.
We need to get working on that audio version of that too, AC.
Oh yeah. My wife too. She's got to do the parts of the first episode that's done already, and yeah, it's a whole thing. I still got Royce's parts hanging out. RH Snow's next. There's your parts too. We got that one shot coming up.
I know that's gonna be
it's a whole
fun.
thing. Yeah.
Alrighty.
All right.
Good
Yeah.
stuff.
So who wants to roll out first?
Bats, you first. We'll go reverse order.
Yes.
All right. I'll probably be clipping this. As some of us may know, I've been involved with some a little bit of drama that's been going on, right, between me and some other fellow creators, right? I want to take this opportunity to kind of send out an olive branch B.A. Turner. We're inviting you, well, I am, we're inviting you as a guest on next week's show. Now, this show is not drama at all. This is not my Batcave show. This is not like a, big surprise. We're gonna actually do this to make fun of you. This is an honest invitation for you to come on the show, and we could talk story writing, things that we love as creators, and hopefully things end up better after that. We are going to be doing Snyder Week because of that. We know you're a Snyder fan, and then instead of the stupid debates that we've been challenging into each other, maybe we can have a debate over a Snyder movie, which would be a lot more fun, right? And no drama involved with that. So that invites out. Also, Immortal Rising. There's been some drama going on with you as well. Not obviously not next week, but invite for you as a guest when you want to appear on after next week. That is open to you as well. So that's what I'm gonna say. Besides that, I got a book to sell, guys. So buy that and check out the Batcave tomorrow.
We'll pick a good theme.
Yeah,
we'll pick
check out the Sauce Cave. We talk about sauces.
We'll pick a good theme for Immortal Rising as well. I think his story is D&D inspired, if I remember right, when he was on my show.
Warhammer, there's a lot it draws on, honestly.
Yeah, we'll pick a good one for that too. But,
all right,
anyway,
Justine.
I'm Justin, but I make music under the name Evely Music. So any streaming platform that you regularly listen to music on, you can just type in my name there. And we got 4 instrumental chiptune rock albums. There's one that's more like, I don't know, a combination of death metal and post-hardcore and something else. But it takes no effort, no time to go give something a spin. It's good stuff. Some of the instrumental music I think would be good for background streaming music as well. And if it's not your thing, pass it on to a friend because every play is 1.3 cents. So be on my way to immense wealth if we just keep
You'll be a millionaire in no time.
Yes.
So check that out. We got me and Chill Kid worked on a dual single collaboration effort that is dropping, I believe, on the 24th. So right around the corner here. And then I have a couple other songs in the works with some people that there's no official release dates, but plenty of things coming up in the what's the phrase, in the tube, in the turnpike, in the
coming
channel.
Down the pike.
There are lots of songs coming down the fallopian tube. They're all.
I don't know why
over the
something
place.
would be coming down the fish, but there you go.
Barreling down the birth canal. Oh wait, I think that's a razor pistol.
God,
yeah.
Razor knuckle.
Did the song for my channel as well.
Hey. All right, so who's next?
Going in order, that's Mr. Pritchard.
So,
the Poised.
As I mentioned at the beginning, my band is re-releasing its album entirely on YouTube, and then after that, I'm gonna let a little time pass, and then we will redistribute it to Spotify and everything else the official way with all the copyrights and stuff. So, if you want to, like Battsauce is using one song as an intro, I'm going to whitelist his channel. Anybody else who wants to get in on some music for their YouTube channels or something, I'll whitelist your channel. That way there's no copyright issues. Aside from that, we got my graphic novel campaign with Luke Stone. Go check that out. Help us get to the next goal. We're almost there.
A saga of sunsets.
Yes,
Viking orcs with a flying bone-long ship.
Yep.
Yes.
Buy it!
Yes. Flying Viking orcs, magic. I just mentioned D&D with Immortal Rising. It's very D&D inspired, like Tolkien, traditional fantasy type stuff, with my own twist on it, And then my free material on Substack, which is acpritchard.substack.com, just free fantasy all ages story there. Nothing really crazy aside from the one shot we're planning in that world and Kahuna and other people doing voice on that. And obviously my physical material on Amazon.com/author/A.C Pritchard, and you can find all my stuff. A.C Pritchard, Pritchard Pub, Empty My Lungs is the name of the band. There's the book right there.
Oh, my wife has my copy.
That's an authentic original cover right there. I believe. Yes.
I still have mine.
So, yeah, check out my stuff. Thanks for listening, everybody, and thanks for coming on, Culta. Appreciate you.
Alrighty, thanks for having me, and I guess that segues nice into my stuff. Obviously, the big number one thing is if you like all things weird Western and heavy metal themed 365 Infantry, the Ride for 2025 is your place to be. We got magazines, we got annual collections. We have literally dozens of exciting sci-fi action short stories for ridiculous prices. You can't get deals like this anywhere else. But if you do want to take anything out for a test drive, that is 365infantry.substack.com, which also has a link tree where you can check out everything from music for the series. Price, I got Spotify playlists if you just want to listen to a bunch of cool tunes that inspire what we do there. For other exciting things, obviously, anvilmagazine.com for those who want to get in on one of the premier magazines of the Iron Age. Go West, Frontier Adventures on Amazon for those who need a little shot of proper old school Western pulp. And for those who want to take a listen to some of my other music work, that is jacobkelta.bandcamp.com. Most recent release is the Star Wanderers EP, which is a 4-track record inspired by the science fantasy collection J.D. Cohen released with Kursova recently. And I had a lot of fun with that because I learned how to do doom metal in a DAW. I'm now officially unstoppable. I can do metal on demand. And if you need metal on demand, you reach out to me on Twitter at StageScreen60 or email me, jacob.kelta@gmail.com. I work on trailers, book formatting, music, whatever you fucking need, I can probably do it for you and at the price you can afford. And also, one last thing, because I'm just full of shit at this point.
You're basically a prodigy, bro. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's terrifying. Trust me, I wake up in cold sweats. Quality Candor is, in fact, my YouTube channel that I do use, and I do technically legally upload to. I say that because I've been so busy
Not
I barely
illegally.
Illegally uploading.
Although tomorrow we're making up for lost time with a 2-hour tangent about everything that's gone into 365 Infantry as far as inspirations. Everything from Blade Runner to the world of Jerry Anderson and beyond. It's
Care
gonna
Bears
be
and more.
That's a real Van.
Never
Dusen.
say no.
Sounds like real Van. Dusen.
That's basically all I got. Anything else, I'll sleep on it.
Alrighty then. For me, I have some videos. I'm working on shorts for this channel, just shorts based on fun conversations we've had here. For my own channel, I have a whole bunch of shorts involving my family coming out soon. Things have been a little slower with my stuff because I've had my kids a lot more than normal recently. But I have a lot of stuff coming down the pipe, and I'm arranging a few more Iron Age Legends episodes as well, which is a show where I take one creator and we have a long-form conversation about creation, their books, and much, much more. In fact, AC, you're going to be one of the upcoming people as well, so I got to get that ready.
Sick.
But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here aboard the Iron Seas. Join us next week every Tuesday at 6:30 PST